What's going on? 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans back on the field today for mandatory minicamp. Brian Callahan will speak to the media once again coming up in a couple moments. Yesterday, the coordinators also spoke, and offensive coordinator Nick Holtz gave an update on rookie tight end Gunnar Helm.
I was happy for him yesterday. Playing tight end is really hard. You've got to master the run game. You got to be involved in all the pass game. They're kind of outside of the quarterback and maybe center. It's probably the most mentally taxing position. And so for him to kind of go out there yesterday and just play really fast and make a couple explosive plays down the field, and then he had a couple really good blocks and some gap schemes, things like that. So for him to kind of have that day where it felt like a lot of it clicked was really awesome, where he didn't kind of have that up and down, kind of had just kind of one of those days, which is good.
Unfortunate news for Titans, who wanted an addition on the defensive side of the ball, as Jermaine Pratt is finalizing a one-year deal with the Raiders worth $4.25 million. The team's overall depth at inside linebacker is questionable, opening up the door for Pratt to solidify a starting role in Las Vegas. To the NBA, where the Pacers take a 2-1 lead over the Thunder after a win in Game 3, 116-107. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam combining for 43 points in the Pacers' road win. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It is the final, don't like that, final day of mandatory minicamp, and as we have the last couple of days, we go live to lead off with Titans head coach Brian Callahan at the podium. Just kidding. We're going to wait a moment until Callahan is up. A swimming start to this Thursday show. Welcome in.
Hey, keep it up. I'll hit you with the echo chamber again,
Oh,
dude.
man. No.
You don't
We
like that?
are fueled by Hattie B's hot chicken. Maybe they would have preferred. I didn't read it in that particular moment. Buck will be back tomorrow. I guess he'll decide to show up to work tomorrow. But ladder drills, got to get those ladder drill videos. What would we do without him? Brian Callahan now is meeting with the media, and we go to it live.
Been intense. We've gotten a lot of great work in over the course of the offseason program. And that ultimately doesn't guarantee us anything. And so we got a lot of work still ahead of us. We got a whole training camp to go. But I like where we're at. I'm appreciative of the effort that's been put in, and I'm excited to wrap this up today. We got I think we got 3 teams, maybe a 4th team sort of in the running on this last day. 2 teams are only separated by a point here and with one to play. So it should be pretty competitive for this guys trying to finish off the offseason on a high note. No. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. I won't do it until training camp, though.
And the rookies stick around next week.
Yes.
What will their schedule look like before they leave?
They'll be pretty busy in the morning. They'll still have some lifting and some work in the weight room with Zach Woodfin and his staff. The player engagement staff takes over. They do a couple things with them as a group. They go visit some places around Nashville. They'll also do some player development stuff. Some things that just leadership development, kind of wrapping up their off-season program as well. They kind of go through their own congruent process as this off-season program runs. The rookies run as well with their own programming. So it's their finalizing of their off-season as well. Get to keep them for one more week, so it's beneficial. It's good for them, and they get a chance just to be with just the rookies together for one more week, and a little bit of reflection on the off-season and where they're at and where we're headed.
Over a good bit before the kind of the off-season work started. Wondering how he's kind of responded to the new numbers in the group, and what's your kind of off-season eval of
Bryce has been good. He's been what I was hoping to see. He's been consistent, and sometimes it's hard to find the targets all the time. Try to put guys in position to show, have opportunities. He probably hasn't had as many opportunities as some of the other guys have. That's just by nature of how the ball's been thrown. But I'm looking forward to having Bryce, and Bryce shows up in pads too, particularly in the special teams world as a gunner. So excited for Bryce. He's had a good offseason of work. His second year in the system. He's on top of the details, which is good to see. So looking forward to seeing what his camp looks like.
You drafted some guys with trades. You're obviously young. How important's development here? How much is on your position coaches in particular, and what have you seen so far in that?
Yeah, that's our job ultimately, and that's the whole philosophy behind the draft and develop process. You know, you got to take young players; they got to play for you. You have to coach them. You have to coach them hard. They have to be ready and available to go play, and that's how you develop the guys. And our assistant coaches have done a fantastic job with that process. I've been really pleased with the work they've put in, with the work that those young players have put in with them. And then the other part of it too is there's a whole player development program that we have kind of kicking off the ground here that sort of monitors all these things all the way through the season. And there's off the field things, there's performance in the weight room with strength, weight, body comp, all those things. There's a personal development part of it. I'm really excited about how that program is going to get put together for these guys over the course of the summer, and then it really kicks off when they get back for training camp. So a lot of emphasis on development, not just as football players, but off the field, body composition, all those things as well. It's all part of the holistic picture. So excited about that. I think it's going to be good for us.
Typically in this break time, quarterbacks and receivers will schedule a time to convene somewhere, start to get some work in before camp. Are you in the loop as far as what plans are on that?
Loosely, I don't know anything concrete at the moment. I think these guys are all trying to figure out when and where they're all going to be places. I'm sure they'll get together at some point. I don't have anything concrete for that. You might have to ask. They might know better than I do at this point. But I'm sure there'll be a group of guys getting together, and I know a lot of guys are around here too. So there'll be some work probably locally for them as well. The guys that are in town, I would imagine something gets lined up somewhere.
What do you
Let me go back to Easton real quick, and I'll come back.
You guys put a lot of effort into this offseason program. Maybe what did you feel like you learned from doing it for the first time? Is there anything that you're wanting to maybe tweak when you pick it back up in the summer?
We sort of tweaked all along. We found out some things, especially like points. How are you dividing up points for the offensive line, for example? Like, it's really hard for offensive linemen to get positive points. They don't have TFLs. They don't. Kind of linemen just do their job, and that's their job. So how do you award points for that? And we tweaked some of how we awarded some points to the guys up front. We've tweaked a little bit of the process as it's gone. It's sort of a little bit of trial and error, not anything dramatic, but just little things that would come up. We maybe make an adjustment here or there. But I'm really happy with how the program went. And again, I think you can ask the players how they felt about it, but I think it kept our competitiveness high. I think it kept our focus on the things that matter. The intent of what we were trying to get done was sort of on our minds all the time. I hit it every day from in the team meetings, from practice, things that showed up that we needed to cover. So I think it's made us a better football team at the end of the day, and that's what the goal was. And again, we got another whole lot of work ahead of us, but for the program in and of itself, I thought it was, for the most part, successful.
Brian, what are you hoping to see out of Cam out of this final day, and kind of how would you evaluate his performance as a whole in this short week?
Progressed. He's gotten better every time he stepped out. Every situation, a lot of things are new, and every time he did it again or had an opportunity to see the rep again, did a nice job of taking the coaching points and improving on the next time out. And today will be his third time down here in the red zone. That's important. That's another critical area we need to improve in. And that timing everything happens faster. The windows are much more condensed, and it's always good. It's just you can't get enough work down in the red zone. So that's another nice way to cap off the camp for us, is to work down there in the short part of the field and see if he's improved from the last time. So excited about that.
To that point, how important was a day like yesterday where the defense is, giving him more problems than they did in day one?
Yeah, critical. I mean, that's where the growth occurs, especially for young players, is challenging situations. Try to make practice more challenging than the game is going to be, ideally. And the hard part when you're doing just like periods of third down is it's just sort of endless. The rush is coming. They know it's third down. The pressure packages. I thought Cam's did a really nice job of handling answers. What are his answers versus our particular problems, and then made some really nice throws and then missed on a few others, and that's a good thing because it gives us a chance to coach on it. I thought the 2-minute drill was great coaching opportunities for us for the entire offense and defense. Again, those are situations you can't get enough of, and it's hard to do that every day, but we need as many of those opportunities as possible because, again, third down, red zone, and 2 minutes is where you win and lose football games in this league, and we'll have a stronger emphasis as training camp gets going. We get more practices stacked up to execute in those moments.
You talked a lot about him and just how he's always has been working this whole off season. He needs to maybe take a break. What's the balance like between now or when they're programming next week until camp starts, as far as you've been in contact with them, Bo, Nick, try to let them get away, but also need to stay on them about being ready for camp?
Yeah, I think the veterans are the guys that set the example for that stuff, because when it's been a really long run for them when you think about end of their college seasons, through the combine, the draft process, and then all of a sudden they're thrown into a new team. A lot happens, and so they do need a chance to step back. But this isn't really a vacation time, if you're a player in the league. This is a short break, but you're trying to ramp yourself back up to get ready for training camp, because it counts now, it matters. And so the veteran guys know how to take the right break, a week or two, maybe over the 4th of July, go do. But I mean, they're really focused on getting back ready to work, and that's the difference between this time of year and, let's say, postseason. Where there's the work is quickly approaching for training camp, and we got to be in great shape. And I told all the guys in the team meeting this morning that let's not take a step back from the progress we've made. And that's both physically, that's mentally, that's execution wise. Let's come back in training camp where we are now, and not lose anything from this time frame. And that's always a challenge, but I think the guys that know how to do it right, and our rookies will be on top of it.
Brian, in terms of the offseason,
I'll come back.
in terms of the offseason program, you said you saw the uptick in competitiveness you want. Guys have also talked about the other emphasis of eliminating the sins.
Yeah.
Have you been able to track that, and how much better do you feel you are in that category this year than maybe this time last year?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I just hit it this morning with the team. What we started to see over the course of the offseason, particularly over this last probably 4 or 5 practices, is the sins that we can control, which for those that don't know this, we call them sins. They're self-inflicted negatives. So false starts, operation procedure problems, pre-snap penalties, all those things that indicate sloppy play on all phases. Those have sort of trended down as the weeks have gone by, and so the only real sins, yesterday was a great example. The only major sins that we had were more the physical ones, and those happen, so we can live with those. But we've trended down on eliminating all the things operationally that we can control. It's been cool to watch that process play out, and you see the effect. As the old adage goes, you get what you emphasize. And we've emphasized it pretty dramatically, and I've seen the improvement from it. Now again, it's June, we got to keep seeing that improvement. But I've been pleased with what it's shown over the course of the offseason.
Brian, speaking of trade program.
What interested you guys in Oro Warrior, and is he a guy that has taken advantage of opportunities here?
Yeah, there's been plenty of opportunities in the secondary. And so, a guy that's played some football. He started games in this league. And, again, we're looking for competition from top to bottom. There's opportunities because we're not at full tilt in the secondary. And he's done a nice job taking advantage of it. So we're trying to build a competition. We're trying to build depth. And he's one of those guys that's going to have plenty of chances to perform for us. And training camp will be big for those guys in the secondary.
Anything in particular that intrigued you about him? He's kind of got an interesting background.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just from a player perspective, just the length, his ability, his seeing him play has had some special teams work as well, which gives you a chance to keep building your special teams depth. He's done some really good things as a cover player in the league, and we're trying to add as many of those guys as we can find.
Speaking of training camp, Brian, do you have a report date? Is it around July 22nd?
22nd will be the report date.
First day on the field, the 23rd?
Yes. Yep. So 22nd, the report. That's physicals. That's the conditioning, and then the 23rd would be the first on the field practice. That first day is the first day of the acclimation period, which now goes 7 or 8 days. We got to fit into some rules and when we can do pads and all that. So we'll go for those first 4 days after we get back. Will be 4 days straight, and then we cap it that Saturday. It'll be at the stadium. So that'll be our first week. Go ahead.
Referred to missed sacks. I'm wondering, were your missed sacks, can you put into context your missed sacks last year as compared to the league? Like, how far off is that number from what an average team would miss?
I don't have that one off the top of my head. I can maybe find that. It's more about just the finishing of the sacks. We had them wrapped up. It slips out. We don't come to balance. We don't do a good enough job technically to get themselves in position to bring a quarterback down. We missed, probably, I think somewhere in the range of 20 plus, when you're just looking at chances we had to get the quarterback on the ground that we didn't get. And obviously you convert those missed sacks into sacks, you're in a much better place than we ended up at the end of the year. So that's been a big point of emphasis for us. And a lot of that has to do with the balancing of the rush too, and making sure that we don't give quarterbacks lanes. So if we do miss one by somebody, the next part there is to clean up that next part of it. So I'm really pleased with the way that defensive line's worked over the course of this offseason. I'm happy with our improvements we've made, and hopefully that number goes way down for us.
I feel like that's disproportionate to what goes on with the average defense.
That's hard to say. I'd have to go look and dig into that one to say with confidence. I just know there was too many opportunities that we missed.
A lot of talk has been made about the offensive line and trying to solidify the starters, but how do you feel like the depth pieces are coming along in terms of building that and having it to a point where there's not a lot of drop off if guy number 6, 7, or 8 has to play? Yeah,
inevitably they all do. Whatever guys you have active, they're probably going to play for you at some point. I think Blake Hance has been a really nice addition for us. The guy's played a lot of football, has got experience as an interior player at guard, and he's also played some tackle. He's started games at both those spots. Having Blake here has been great, and Blake's gotten the bulk share of the work because Zeitler's been out. So it's been good to get him all that work and get him familiar. Obviously, my dad knows him from his time in Cleveland, but he's been a good piece for us. The guy that I think deserves some public praise is Corey Levin. With Lloyd being out, we brought Corey back to be able to run the show, and Corey's a veteran player, and he is a savvy, scrappy, intelligent interior guy that's really helped us run our offense over the course of the offseason without Lloyd. Really, really pleased with what he's done for us. Really happy that we have him because he's very capable, and he started games for us at the end of the year last year, and he started games in his past. Been very pleased with his performance, and again, if that guy is a depth piece, then that's fantastic for us. And then this the swing tackle spots got a lot of competition between JD and Oli and John. Those guys are battling. It's going to be a battle. It's going to go all the way through camp. But I feel much better about our kind of top to bottom, 1 through 9, 10, now than I did last year. And again, long way to go before we determine all that. But the guys that have had to step up and that are going to be potentially depth players for us have been really positive.
Is Hance in the mix for that swing tackle job even with the guard play?
He could be, yeah. He definitely could be. And we'll get to that more in training camp because we needed him at guard for most of the spring. But, yeah, he's certainly in the mix for that potential role because he's done it. He's done it well over his time. And it's, we're going to find whatever the best player is we're going to have in that spot.
And everything that you anticipated he would be just up to this point?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. All the things about Dan that we knew from a personal standpoint as far as his work ethic, his personality, all that stuff's been great. It's been really fun to watch him improve some of the technical aspects. And again, as we know, it's just my dad does things a little bit different and a different detail level than a lot of places. And he's taken to that really well. You can see the improvement in his footwork and his hand placement. That stuff's been good to see. Again, with no pads on, it's always hard to get a full picture, but everything that we would hope he would be, he's been for us so far. And, that's a good thing.
Your dad, it's Father's Day on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have any special plans, or actually, how great has it been until this point coaching with your dad?
Yeah, it's been really fun. To actually have to go through it all together, and now going into our second year, much more comfortable with how the roles work and how our relationships work, and it's been really cool to be a part of still. And every day I kind of wake up and I get a chance to go to work with my dad, and that's not something that I take for granted because I don't know how long he's going to do this. It's not going to be forever. And so just to have this opportunity to work together for this period of time, hopefully it's for a while still, has been really awesome. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right.
There you go. Titans coach Brian Callahan meeting with the media for last time for a few weeks that we hear from Brian Callahan. This is the final day of mandatory minicamp. Last day of school before summer break, so to speak, although rookies, as you heard the head coach, will stick around in the facility next week. So, report date for training camp, July 22nd. They will be on the practice field July 23rd. Of course, we are anticipating being there to bring you Cam Ward's first training camp as the Titans starting quarterback. We'll see how long it takes before he is officially the Titans starting quarterback. And later on in the show, we'll play for you what Brian Callahan had to say about his progress. A lot of offensive line talk towards the back end of the press conference as well, talking about working with his dad, Dan Moore Jr., in his first minicamp since coming over as a free agent signing from the Steelers, and offensive line depth, which is a concern we haven't talked about enough probably on this show because the starting group is at least set on paper. We've talked about the offensive line kind of in that vein of, okay, the bones are there for it to be at least an efficient league average group. But there's a lot to be desired in terms of the depth, especially at the tackle spot, and we can get into that as well. As we mentioned, we are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Buck is at practice. He will be observing the final day of mandatory minicamp, and he will join the show coming up at noon. We will also hear his interview with Titans pass rusher Arden Key in the noon hour. So much to discuss on this last day of mandatory minicamp. So, Bert, what do we think? What's been the biggest headline so far through a couple days of Titans mandatory minicamp?
Probably Cam Ward's resolve, his ability to come in and compete with other NFL players. I think that would be the headline, but then the accentuation of the players around him. People responding to Cam Ward. It seems like the emphasis on leadership has struck where you got a rookie quarterback coming in, and sometimes those voices aren't as loud as they would be if you're the first guy, if it's your first year in that room. But it seems like he's taken to it, and other Titans players are responding well to it as well.
Steven on the FNM Bank chat, where you can jump in, by the way. We are always live on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Steven says something special brewing in Titanland. I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I can feel the Cam Ward hype for the 2025 season kind of bubbling a little bit. National media, more and more are talking about, oh, watch out, this guy's going to have a big season. And it feels like we are headed right down the path of Titans fans getting themselves up for 2025 in a way that could lead to disappointment. Keep your powder dry is all I will say. We will be measured, as hard as that can be, when Jim Wyatt is opening his article from day one of mandatory minicamp practice saying, Cam Ward, oh my. Do we have the oh my sound back there?
No. It wasn't worth keeping George around for that.
You don't think so? Well, the hype is building, and it's going to when he has a practice like he had yesterday, 2 days ago. But let's talk about the practice that Cam Ward had yesterday. Some observations from people that were there in person. Buck will give us his observations later on in the show, but we will hear more about what happened with Cam Ward at practice yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park and what Brian Callahan just had to say about it next on 104.5 The Zone. So how you handling the Cam Ward hype? The more you see it on national TV, the more you see glowing reviews from Titans reporters at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. They're heading into the final practice of mandatory minicamp today, and I believe Cam Ward will meet with reporters after practice in a media scrum. So maybe we hear a little bit from the Titans quarterback tomorrow when Buck is back in studio, who even he said, yeah, he was fantastic on day one of mandatory minicamp.
And fantastic from him is like an exceptional from someone else. You know what I mean?
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Alex on the F&M Bank chat on YouTube says, without a doubt, I'm ready to be hurt again. Lethal Latin says, Levis didn't have this hype. Maybe not the kind of hype that a number one overall pick just organically brings, but let's not do revisionist history on how Titans fans felt about Will Levis and the way the Titans sold Will Levis last year in a way that maybe wasn't even Will Levis's fault, right? I mean, what did Amy Adams Strunk's statement read after they fired Mike Vrabel when she references this talented young quarterback that they've got in place, the money they spent around him, the chips that they pushed in? So even if the hype around Levis didn't come because of Levis and who he was as a prospect, it came because of the circumstances around him, which wasn't necessarily his fault. But I don't want to do that, saying, no, we weren't talking about this with Will Levis. We kind of were last year.
And we're not to training camp yet, but when training camp was coming around, that's when his perfume was dropping. And we were not dogging him for this perfume. In fact, I bought 2 vials of it in case he popped off and they were worth something on eBay.
Where are they?
In my travel bag. I use one of them every time I go. It smells good. I will say the best thing Will Levis probably ever did outside of Miami and Atlanta would be that perfume. It smells exceptional.
You like the smell?
I do. Cheyenne loves it. Cheyenne is the one who she
likes the mayonnaise perfume.
He loves
it. Was like
it.
$8 a bottle.
Yeah, it was super cheap. I mean, as far as perfume goes, but I have one of them still boxed up. So if anybody out there would like to pay me like 3 times MSRP,
it's vintage now, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be failed Titans quarterback perfume. Doesn't anybody want that?
Oh, man. Kent on the F&M Bank chat says, I'll get hyped when they give me a reason to get hyped. I'm optimistic about everything, but in the last 20 years, they consistently failed to live up to the hype. Jim says, my heart is so wanting to get excited, but my brain is screaming, don't do it after last year. I need therapy. He says, OTAs and mandatory camp are like sirens singing me to shore. So, Jim Wyatt, we mentioned his practice observations from day one, starting with Cam Ward. Oh, my. Here is how they started after practice on day 2. He said, another practice, another day when Cam Ward's every snap was followed closely. This is Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com. One day after the Titans rookie quarterback was near perfect, completing 20 of his 21 passes on Tuesday, Ward was more up and down on Wednesday. Better day for the defense, by all accounts. He missed some throws, lost control of the football on 2 occasions, but he also made some on-target throws and showed off flashes of impressive play. Jim says, I'm sure we're going to see those ups and downs continue through training camp leading up to the season. And I'm sure many of you saw the play that the Titans posted of Cam Ward connecting with Calvin Ridley on a 50-yard ball down the field, Ridley catching it in stride. Jim says Ward improvised on another play, lateraling the ball back to running back Tony Pollard while on the move. So there's some of that off-schedule stuff that's going to get people excited, right? But, there's going to be some comeback down to earth days, and it feels like yesterday was a little bit of that, given what he did on Tuesday without having a ball hit the ground, right? His only incompletion on Tuesday was the interception to Cody Barton. He completed the rest of his 20 attempts. So that's a quick summation of what we've seen from Cam Ward. Just kind of, obviously, we're not there. We're here holding it down for you guys. So Buck will give us a more firsthand account coming up later on at noon. This was Titans Brian Callahan earlier this morning, if you missed the press conference as we carried it live, talking about Cam Ward's progress through the first couple days of mandatory minicamp.
Progressed. He's gotten better every time he stepped out. Every situation, a lot of things are new, and every time he did it again or had an opportunity to see the rep again, did a nice job of taking the coaching points and improving on the next time out. And today will be his 3rd time down here in the red zone. That's important. That's another critical area we need to improve in. And that timing everything happens faster. The windows are much more condensed, and it's always good. It's just you can't get enough work down in the red zone. So that's another nice way to cap off the camp for us, is to work down there in the short part of the field and see if he's improved from the last time. So excited about that.
To that point, how important was a day like yesterday where the defense is, giving him more problems than they did in day one?
Yeah, critical. I mean, that's where the growth occurs, especially for young players, is challenging situations. Try to make practice more challenging than the game is going to be, ideally. And the hard part when you're doing just like periods of third down is it's just sort of endless. The rush is coming. They know it's third down. The pressure packages. I thought Cam's did a really nice job of handling answers. What are his answers versus our particular problems, and then made some really nice throws and then missed on a few others, and that's a good thing because it gives us a chance to coach on it. I thought the 2-minute drill was great coaching opportunities for us for the entire offense and defense. Again, those are situations you can't get enough of, and it's hard to do that every day, but we need as many of those opportunities as possible because, again, third down, red zone, and 2 minutes is where you win and lose football games in this league, and we'll have a stronger emphasis as training camp gets going. We get more practices stacked up to execute in those moments.
So that's Brian Callahan talking earlier about Cam Ward and his progress on day 2 of mandatory minicamp. So defense gave him some issues, right? And that's good. You want that. Like, again, the best thing about Cam Ward's practice yesterday for me, personally, was that he did it after throwing an interception. Not that he was perfect all the way. Like, a near perfect day. Wish he would have just not thrown that interception. At this stage in the offseason, I want him to throw that interception so we can see how he responds off of it. And then we'll see how he comes out today after getting some stuff thrown at him by the Titans defense. I'm sure you guys have heard the FNM Big Chat saying, chill with the laterals. No laterals allowed. There's going to be these moments, Robert, where people get that kind of Will Levis PTSD with the off-schedule stuff, Cam Ward trying to make something happen, and it's going to lead to some mistakes this season. It just is. He's a rookie quarterback. But Will Levis, for him, those moments were born out of a panic, right? Where for Cam Ward, they're born out of a kind of a reactive trying to make a play situation that is going to lead to negative plays for the Titans, but it's going to come from a very different place, if that makes any sense.
Oh, Will Levis truthers out there are like, it's the same thing. Will Levis was trying to win. And we got some Greg Kosell audio from the install that we're going to play later in the show to that fact, where we've kind of talked about mistakes being made at training camp all week and that like the whether they are good or bad or necessary. Greg Kosell kind of leans into that a little bit. We'll play that for you later. But if you want to check the install out, it's up on YouTube, and the podcast is available wherever you watch or listen to your stuff at.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in, of course, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. And then the other thing between the two, Cam Ward, I understand, going back to last year, the positive outlook around Will Levis. Belief, right? Not trust, but belief in Will Levis last year. Cam Ward comes into the Titans as a much better prospect than Will Levis was when he came into the Titans as well. So there's that part of it too, which is going to just organically lead to more hype before he proves anything at the NFL level from the Titans fan base. So we understand that. Now, we played the Brian Callahan audio for you yesterday of him talking about Cam Ward's ability to relay a play call, to hear the play call, to digest it while simultaneously talking trash with Jeffrey Simmons. And Big Jeff quote tweeted the article by Jim Wyatt talking about that, saying, Young Bull is competitive as hell, and I love every part of it. Trust me, nothing is personal, and we both know that. We're going to talk every day and all day and help this team win on Sundays.
I feel like we do this every year, though. Like with with Jeff talking, and they're like, why is he talking so much? Why isn't he just let him practice? But, like, in the game, people are going to talk crap. People are going to be coming at him aggressively, trying to knock him off his, like, mental kilter. So, like, I like Jeff doing this. The same reason I like fans at practice. Like, the added noise, the added expectation, the added pressure. Like, you need that stuff. A rookie quarterback needs that.
I don't mind Jeff coming into mandatory minicamp and just being Jeff, right? Like, if there's any consternation there of, like, oh, you come in and you're going to be a leader and start barking at people after you weren't here for voluntary OTAs.
Yeah, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Like, what do you want Jeffrey Simmons to do? Is come in and just not be Jeffrey Simmons? I don't think that's what you want. I don't think that's what his teammates and coaches want. So, with that said, it feels like Cam Ward is bringing what the Titans haven't had in a rookie quarterback drafted highly in a very, very long time, maybe ever, right? That demeanor, that calm, cool, and collected poise, but the lack of fear to pull teammates in the right direction. We remember the Josh Pate story from Cam Ward on his second day on campus at Miami. Marcus Mariota didn't have that for the Titans. The talent, it was all there. Heisman Trophy winner, number 2 overall pick. But that was the talking point for Marcus Mariota. He's a naturally kind of reserved guy. Can he be more of a vocal leader with this team? It was a talking point his entire time here, right? don't think that was the case with Jake Locker or Vince Young. Vince Young was a huge name, was coming off that big moment with Texas, but there were some maturity issues there. So the door is so wide open for Cam Ward to come in from a leadership perspective and just grab the reins here. And as much as Brian Callahan and this coaching staff are trying to manufacture that leadership, I get what they're trying to do, and it makes sense. I understand it. But it's also just going to happen organically, especially once they start to win some games. It's amazing how good the culture is, Robert, for teams that just win football games.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So, coming up next, we will reset a little bit with NBA Finals action from last night. The Indiana Pacers, they're going to make this a series.
I told you.
Oh, did you?
Yes, remember yesterday.
Oh, we'll revisit Robert Walsh's prediction next.
If your current wealth manager isn't hitting it out of the park for you, step up to the plate with Trajan Wealth today. They're there to help because occurrences like inflation, election cycles, new laws, and interest rates can affect the financial markets in the short term. But it doesn't make sense to keep changing the way you invest in response to the daily news. You know this. Instead, Trajan Wealth will help you review your strategy and make sure that it's right for your goals, your level of risk tolerance, and your time horizon. Trajan Wealth will help you decide what to do. The simple truth is that there's more to things like retirement planning, for example, than simply calculating your expenses. Trajan Wealth can help you design a strategy based on realistic options that align with your goals and your circumstances. So call Trajan Wealth today. The number's easy, 615-270-5000. 615-270-5000 or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
So you're going to claim, Robert Walsh, that you predicted the Indiana Pacers winning Game 3 at home Wednesday night. We could go back and play the audio.
I don't know if that would do you any good.
I'm sure you'd be very selective in the audio that you play.
Well, yeah, you could go pull it if you want to, and you can pick whichever side you want. I'm sure you could go clip me saying, nah, I was just kidding. The Thunder are definitely going to win tonight. When you split the baby like that, you're never wrong.
Play both sides. Always come out on top. 116-107, and the Pacers take a 2-1 series lead in the NBA Finals, and they're just not going to go anywhere. We shouldn't be surprised by this. This is what the Indiana Pacers have done the entire postseason, and it is a joy to watch what they get across their lineup and down their bench. 20 points total from the Thunder bench last night. Benedict Mathurin, 27 points off the bench. Most he scored in a game since March of this year. Career high in points in the playoffs for him. And here come the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton was fantastic, one rebound away from a triple-double. But the Benedict Mathurin game, as he scores the most points in an NBA Finals off the bench since Jason Terry in 2011. So here are the Indiana Pacers, who were always going to make this a fight. This team that are playing at historic levels at the end of games, just not going away, have had all these comebacks in the NBA postseason. And still this assumption that the Oklahoma City Thunder, because they are the better basketball team and the number one overall seed in the West, we're just going to come in and swipe away the NBA Finals that the Indiana Pacers are running out of gas. The Pacers said, bleep that. And Tyrese Halliburton certainly was the catalyst, but they don't do it without Benedict Mathurin yesterday. This game had, I think, 13 ties. That place was, as expected, electric in Indianapolis. And they'll play Game 4 tomorrow night before heading back to Oklahoma City.
Who do you think is favored in Game 4? Still in OKC. Who do you think, and if you can give me a line.
Still in Indiana, you mean?
Yeah, or still in Indiana, correct.
I bet the Thunder are favored.
You would be correct. By 6.5 points. That to me is a little odd that they would still be favored after seeing how well how these teams kind of go at each other, where I would have thought the Thunder would have had the matchup. But it just seems like the Pacers will not go away. I thought that number would be closer.
Game 3 of a 1-1 series is pivotal. Teams that win Game 3 of a series that's 1-1 going into it in the NBA Finals have gone on to win 80.5% of the time in the NBA Finals. So the Pacers are in the driver's seat here, up 2-1 with Game 4 happening at home tomorrow night. And if the Pacers, this is way too early to have this conversation, I understand. We can revisit it once we get to a Game 6, potentially a Game 7, because I'm assuming that's what will happen in this series. But if the Pacers are to win the NBA Finals, they're the most out-of-nowhere NBA champion since who?
The Raptors.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
The Raptors with Kawhi Leonard.
Right. And really the only reason they beat Golden State in the finals that year was because Klay got hurt, KD got hurt, and it was Steph going by himself. But the Raptors really came out of nowhere, but it was all thanks to Kawhi. You can see that after Kawhi left, and they struggled to hold on to the relevancy.
You remember who else was on that Raptors team?
Oh, Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. What was used to play for the Thunder? Serge Ibaka, Bismack Biyombo.
There's a current Pacer that is a significant.
Pascal
Siakam. Yep. Big part of that Raptors team.
How many Raptors you want me to name, dude? I think that
was pretty good.
Dude, come on, man. Come on.
Really good
Marc
recall
Gasol
by you.
Was on that
That's
team.
fantastic work by you. The role players on this Pacers team, almost what makes them fun to watch. Like TJ McConnell just buzzing around with these tip-out steal turning into assists. Had 5 steals and 5 assists. I want to say all 5 assists came on steals. That's probably not the case. And by the way, shout out to Ben Shepherd, former Belmont Bruin, who had 18 minutes off the bench, has had some nice moments for the Pacers in this postseason. So the depth is showing, the fight, that scrappy nature of the Pacers, able to overcome the elite defense that's been played by the Thunder in this series. And Tyrese Halliburton stepped up as, we said he needed to going in. 22 points and, like we mentioned, 11 assists, 1 rebound away from a triple-double. Pascal Siakam chipping in 21 points for the Indiana Pacers. So this is going to be a fun series. Feels like it's going to go all the way to the end. Meanwhile, the team that the Pacers beat, the hearts that they broke in the Eastern Conference Finals, the New York Knicks, who infamously fired head coach Tom Thibodeau after taking them to their first Eastern Conference Final in, 35 years, are being told no all over the place. Have you seen this? What's happening with the Knicks coaching search?
I saw that they requested to interview Billy Donovan, and they were promptly told no.
They were promptly denied.
And then there was a second team, wasn't there?
They requested permission to speak with Atlanta Hawks head coach Quinn Snyder. Were firmly denied. I don't know if the New York Knicks had a plan. Remember when this happened and we talked about some of the boldest firings in sports history? That move that you can almost respect of a team firing a coach that has taken you right up to the cusp, has done a better job than anybody in previous decades in this instance for the Knicks franchise, has taken you right up to the doorstep of the NBA Finals. Players love him. Shock the world by firing him because you say, no, because we don't think he can get us over the hump, and here all that matters is winning championships, even though we haven't done it in forever. Okay, you can respect that. You can respect that state of mind, but you better have a plan. And I don't know if the Knicks had a plan. The example I brought up was Georgia, firing Mark Richt, who did nothing but win at Georgia consistently. 10-win seasons, winning the SEC East, playing in the SEC championship game. I mean, multiple times where the Georgia Bulldogs were a game away from playing in the BCS National Championship. I remember that crazy SEC championship. I think it was the 2012 season where they run out of time getting tackled at the 5-yard line and lose to Bama, who goes on to thump Notre Dame, the Manti Te'o Notre Dame team. Bama and Georgia were playing for the right to destroy Notre Dame in the national championship. Georgia fires Mark Richt, but they had a plan. They had Kirby Smart in the back pocket. They had Georgia alum Kirby Smart, who sat there as Nick Saban's right-hand man building an Alabama dynasty. And what's happened? They've won multiple national championships. Knicks didn't have a plan, and it is showing. Quick headline here while we're on basketball. Down to the college game, Zakai Ziegler, as we know, was chasing a 5th year, suing the NCAA, saying that he should not have to have exhausted his eligibility because of the redshirt rule. It looks like Zakai Ziegler, his situation is going to be cut short, and he will not be returning to Tennessee, as an East Tennessee court has denied Ziegler's preliminary injunction for another year of eligibility. Here's the quote. This is Trey Wallace putting it out there. The court is a court of law, not policy. What the NCAA should do as a policy matter to benefit student athletes is beyond the reach of the Sherman Act. So Zakai Ziegler's time at Tennessee seems like it is over. I can respect him giving it one last gasp, and we'll see what comes of his pro career. If you were a guy like Zakai Ziegler, like what would you rather do, Robert? Would you rather get into that G League cycle and keep that NBA dream alive as long as you can? Or would you rather just ship over to Europe?
I would rather be a god in Macedonia.
Yeah, man.
Like, send me
That's
to the
what I'm
middle
saying.
of nowhere, and I'll eat every goulash and whatever else they want to feed me. I would get so fat. Pictures of me would surface over here. And be like, have you seen Bert lately? Dude, he's playing in Portugal, and he is so fat. He's got like 15 of these Portuguese women
you would
pregnant.
just go pedal to the metal. You wouldn't even care about elongating your career.
Oh, no, dude. I would be over there and be like, have you guys ever seen my college highlights? I'd be talking to
You just
all
make money for a couple years and just go back home.
Yeah, dude. Then I'd come over here and open a barbecue restaurant or something.
I'm with you, in principle when it comes to going to Europe and just go be great in Turkey and Italy and Spain instead of bouncing around playing for the Greensboro Swarm.
Right. I mean, you're telling me if Zakai Ziegler went overseas, played for a couple years, and then came back and had Zig's Pigs, you wouldn't go eat at Zig's Pigs in Knoxville?
It would do really well.
It would do well.
It would do really well. I don't know, though. The New York barbecue thing, I don't know. Maybe not barbecue. I don't know if that's the route.
Yeah, what the hell do chopped cheese? Is that what they would have? Chopped barbecue cheese?
But no. All the best to Zakai Ziegler. We figured this would be the case. Tyler in the F&M Bank chat says it would be a slippery slope, and it would. It absolutely would if the NCAA starts to have to give players another year of eligibility if they did not redshirt. So that seems like it ties a bow on the Zakai Ziegler trying to come back to Tennessee effort. Greg Kosell is in Nashville. He's been hanging out at Titans mandatory minicamp, having plenty of access to the building. And on the latest episode of The Install, Greg broke down a lot of things that he's seen so far, including Titans quarterback Cam Ward, connection with young receivers, and much more. We'll hear from Greg Kosell coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.
What's going on? 11:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans back on the field for mandatory minicamp today. Brian Callahan spoke to the media at 10 o'clock. But yesterday, coordinators spoke, and offensive coordinator Nick Holtz gave an update on rookie tight end Gunnar Helm.
I was happy for him yesterday. Playing tight end is really hard. You've got to master the run game. You got to be involved in all the pass game. They're kind of outside of the quarterback and maybe center. It's probably the most mentally taxing position. And so for him to kind of go out there yesterday and just play really fast and make a couple explosive plays down the field, and then he had a couple really good blocks and some gap schemes, things like that. So for him to kind of have that day where it felt like a lot of it clicked was really awesome, where he didn't kind of have that up and down, kind of had just kind of one of those days, which is good.
In free agent news, Jermaine Pratt finalizing a one-year deal with the Raiders worth $4.25 million. The team's overall depth at inside linebacker is questionable, opening a door for Pratt to solidify a starting role in Las Vegas. And to the NBA, where the Pacers take a 2-1 lead over the Thunder with a 116-107 win. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam combining for 43 points in the road win. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Balls. This is 104.5. The Zone.
Welcome back. Hour 2 on the Buck Rising Show with No Buck Rising. The way we like it. Mandatory minicamp continues and finalizes today for the Titans. They are on the practice field as we speak. There is audio coming out from Titans assistant coaches. Maybe we play some of that for you later on in the show. But Greg Kosell is on hand watching the Titans. You can listen, I believe, Robert, to the latest episode of The Install with
That
Greg
is
Kosell.
correct. Yeah, he's been at the Titans facility all week, and Buck told me that he has been giving the lay of the land. So no coach's office, no cafeteria, no private bathroom is off limits.
All right, there you go.
I want to know what Brian Callahan's coach's bathroom looks like, and Buck would not allow me to ask Greg that.
No, but you should find a way anyway. I'm palatial, I imagine. Check it out on YouTube as well, the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page. Subscribe while you're there. So Greg Kosell gets to give his impressions of Cam Ward after watching him for a couple days at practice, and this was Kosell with Buck yesterday.
The thing that really struck me, and I was actually discussing this with someone while I was watching, was he came right back and then made on the next play after he threw a bad ball, made a really difficult throw and put it right on the money. And to me, that's more important than the fact that he made a bad throw.
Yeah.
Because you know what, in a game, that's going to happen. You know what? The defense wins sometimes in games, or you make a bad throw. It's what happens next.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of plays in a game. It's a long season. There's good and there's bad. And I even said to the person I was speaking with, I said, that impressed me more than just him making a good throw, because he came back and showed total poise, total composure, no sense of uncertainty, no sense, I better throw a check down just to get a completion, and he came back and made a really good throw.
Yeah, and the response is what they're these guys are judged on every snap, on every play, and the way that they go about these things. And for Cam Ward, it has been really, I think for the coaching staff, exciting to see just how he's responded when tested multiple times, whether it's Jeff, getting a pressure getting in his face, and him, John, but getting right back in the huddle, executing the next play, his plan, the operation of it.
And Jeff's not stupid. He knows that if this team is to reach what he wants it to reach, because he's super competitive, as you well know, that he knows Cam Ward's got to be the guy. So he's doing this intentionally.
Yeah.
Because he wants to see, now's the time to find out how he's going to react.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that's been impressive with Cam, is just the poise.
Yeah.
There's no sense, even after a bad throw or a bad play, of, oh my God, he just runs the next play.
Yeah, and for you, I guess, as you watch him now that you've had the opportunity to see him do a variety of different things, be it team, 2-minute. I know they did some third down today. I think red zone is specifically tomorrow.
That'll be tomorrow.
I guess what are your early impressions of the things that what he is on tape versus what you've seen them start to implement?
Oh, I think it's all been positive. I don't think there's really been anything negative at all. I think you can see the physical traits, which we know about. I knew about that from having seen 18, 19 games on tape over his last 2 years in college. The things that you don't know for sure on tape, you get a sense, but you don't know for sure because you have to see it in person, or poise and composure. He's clearly got that. So, I think it's all positive. And I think don't forget, he's still learning a new offense. I did have a chance to have a great conversation with the quarterback coach, Bo Hardigree, and we were talking about a lot of techniques that have to be taught that he didn't really do much of in college, and that's all to be expected. This stuff has to be taught. Every position in football, there's learned traits that go beyond just physical ability.
Right.
So, those things have to be taught and practiced. It's repetition. It's repetitive. You just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah.
So that's Greg Kosell on the install talking about seeing Cam Ward and liking the way Cam Ward has bounced back from issues thrown at him by the Titans defense. And he's getting the ball to some young receivers that are staking their claim for this roster, right? The 2 draft picks, Elikayu Manor and Chimere Dike, and of course, undrafted free agent Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. Greg Kosell also talked about those guys in this wide receiver core as a whole.
We'll start with Elikayu Manor. First of all, the body type is ridiculous. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And, he ran really well. I watched his tape for the last 2 years. People may remember that he ran by Travis Hunter in 2023. The biggest issue he had, which was a concern, and it may be one reason he dropped to the 5th round, was he had too many drops on routine throws. They're aware of that. He's aware of it. They're working on it. But he's been, he just looks really good because he's fast.
Yeah.
He
glides out.
Yeah, obviously 40 time is not the be-all and end-all, but for a guy with that body type who ran, I believe, a 4.43, that's really fast.
Yeah.
And as I said, he ran by Travis Hunter. He's been very impressive. I think DK's also been impressive, and he's a guy that you can line up inside, outside. You can use him as a motion guy. Don't forget, they're just putting stuff in.
There you go. So Titans wide receivers, just like Cam Ward, are just trying to get a grasp on this offense, trying to find ways to flash in mandatory minicamp where there is just opportunity abound, right? We talk about the opportunity for a bunch of players to compete for that starting job next to Cody Barton. And by the way, there's news on that, on one particular potential free agent the Titans could have looked at that signed elsewhere. So it looks like it will be an in-house player to step in next to Cody Barton at that off-ball linebacker spot. But Calvin Ridley is wide receiver 1 on this team. And that connection seems to be coming to some sort of fruition. Earl, it's mandatory minicamp. They're not wearing pads. I get it. But it flashed yesterday. Cam Ward to Calvin Ridley. Wide receiver 2 on this team, Tyler Lockett figures to be this team's go-to slot receiver. And then Van Jefferson's the only other player on this team that's ever had any sort of production in the NFL. And from there, it's a bunch of prove-it players with a long road of opportunity ahead of them, whether it's the 2 draft picks or Xavier Restrepo or the guys that are trying to make their name on special teams. Restrepo is absolutely one of those guys. And the holdovers from last year, the Bryce Olivers of the world, Mason Kinseys that are still around fighting with that lower-end roster churn in the wide receiver room. So Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach, met with the media earlier today. This is from the Twitter account of Jim Wyatt, talking about the progress of some of those young receivers.
I love their knowledge of the game. They're up here all the time. They don't ever go home. They're up here studying with the quarterback early in the morning, 5 in the morning. They stay here late. And I'm impressed, particularly with Alec and Tim. The speed of the game for them is kind of, they're really fast, really strong, and their speed shows out there. I'm impressed with Xavier's savage to get open in the slot. People say, well, he's not a fast guy. Well, you don't have to be fast to get open. And there's a lot of guys who are not very fast can get open. He's been able to get open a lot. So their knowledge of the game and understanding and learning day by day has enabled them to be able to get open. And I'm pleased with that. I love...
So which of those guys can stake their claim on special teams, right, is a huge question, especially for a guy like Xavier Restrepo that wasn't a draft pick. We heard John Fossil talk yesterday glowingly about Xavier Restrepo as a potential special teamer. John Fossil's just starting with a blank slate with these guys as it pertains to special teams. So it's an interesting thing, the wide receiver spot, Robert, for those young guys, because kind of like the pass rusher position with Femi Oladejo, who is a very raw, toolsy prospect that no NFL draft analyst was looking at and saying, okay, that's a guy that you can roll out there week 1 of the season and be an instant impact guy as a pass rusher. He's only ever played less than 1 season as a bona fide pass rusher in his career. He's a developmental prospect that you need something from in his rookie year. Well, it's kind of the case at the wide receiver spot where Elikayu Manor and Chimere Dike are kind of these developmental prospects that can give you something later on in their career that are going to have to give you something in their rookie year. If the Titans don't get anything of substance from those three, any combination of those three, DK, Ioman, or Restrepo, if they don't come on in a way that helps this offense in 2025, you're in huge trouble at the wide receiver spot because suddenly Calvin Ridley's your only threat and Tyler Lockett on the wrong side of 30 is your slot receiver. And beyond that, defenses can kind of account for everything else.
Yeah, would you say that they would be in a tough spot if one of those receivers isn't their third leading receiver? Like if it ends up being Tony Pollard catching like 50 balls similar to Tajay Spears his rookie year, like not to be counting stats like they have to have many receiving yards, but like if they're not involved, there's probably a problem. If Van Jefferson ends up being your statistical third receiver, there is an issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. So those guys will have to continue to come on throughout the course of training camp. They're going to have to be relied on this season. Like it might not be fair to place expectations on those guys in their rookie years, but I think that's fair to say that if you're not getting something substantial from Io Manor and or Chimere Dike, then you might be in trouble with the wide receiver spot. But so far, all has been positive on those guys, as expected, during a period like mandatory minicamp. Okay, there is plenty of drama across the NFL and minicamp, something that we've talked about with big-name holdouts across the National Football League. But one of those holdouts is a rookie with a situation that just continues to get uglier. We'll give you that and more NFL headlines coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.
It's time for mandatory minicamp headlines.
With Lucas Panzica.
With Lucas Panzica.
I hate you. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Okay, so this situation in Cincinnati just gets messier and messier.
Dude, what is going on?
This is a disaster with Shamar Stewart, the first-round pick out of Texas A&M. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We get it. The Bengals are cheap. They're doing Trey Hendrickson dirty, and they're doing the guy that they literally drafted to potentially replace him, Shamar Stewart, dirty. But the latest on this is straight from Adam Schefter a few hours ago. Cincinnati's unsigned first-round draft pick, Shamar Stewart, has now left mandatory minicamp. Stewart has been attending team activities, but without a signed contract and with the Bengals asking for certain clauses, no longer. So, who should we hear from first, Robert? We have Pat McAfee kind of laying out what the Bengals are trying to do here and how that puts Stewart and his agent in a very compromising position. Or should we hear from a very visibly frustrated Shamar Stewart talking to Bengals media first?
Let's have McAfee explain it.
Okay, so let's set the table here. Pat McAfee, of all people, explaining what the hell is going on with what the Bengals are trying to do with Shamar Stewart.
We got to correct the story. Shamar Stewart, we said his agent must be a super genius.
Yeah.
It's kind of slotted in there. What are we doing? You're the 17th overall pick.
Yeah.
The CBA has this thing. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio has reported, as previously explained, so I guess he has done this before. Not enough people saw it, and that is what he is saying.
Sorry, Mike.
The Bengals have decided to wedge a new clause into Shamar Stewart's deal. The clause would turn a default in any given year into a void of all remaining guarantees. In prior Bengals contracts, a void wiped out only the guarantee for the year in which the default occurred. Stewart refuses to be the guinea pig for the new term, and the Bengals refuse to blink. As a result, Shamar Stewart will be less prepared for training camp than he would have been. Okay, so the Bengals are doing Bengals stuff.
Yeah, what the hell?
I respect it now. I respect what
I like what the agent's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the first one. How am I supposed to tell? He's also a young agent.
Yeah.
So I'm a young agent. I'm supposed to just tell this, for the first time ever, we're agreeing to something. No way. Why are the Bengals doing this?
They're the worst. That's
They
why.
do.
And to Shamar and the agent, we apologize for not knowing that before. Florio tried to tell us.
So, and look, to echo Pat McAfee at the end, like, we also were looking at Shamar Stewart early on, and like, what are you doing, man? What are you holding out for? Because you just kind of assume that these things will get done and dusted, right? Not in the case of the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're trying something here. Shamar Stewart and his agent are saying, we're not going to be the ones that you're able to do that on. And it's turned into an absolute disaster of the situation. And here's the thing, too, for Shamar Stewart. He's 21 years old. He wasn't really used at Texas A&M. Like, you might go look at his sack numbers or lack thereof and say the Bengals drafted that to replace back-to-back 17 sack seasons with Trey Hendrickson. He's going to be utilized in a different way at the NFL level. He's a very developmental prospect who has now missed rookie minicamp, OTAs, and has gone home now from mandatory minicamp. And the stuff that he was technically present at, he wasn't getting any work done because of what the Bengals are trying to do to screw this kid. So this was a very frustrated Shamar Stewart. We'll play some of this cut talking to Bengals media in the locker room, I believe. This was earlier this week at minicamp.
How important is it for you, do you think, from a player standpoint, to be on the field for training camp?
It's very important. I mean, like, you got to get your body somewhat prepared to play football, especially me coming from college to the NFL is a way physical game, even though I played in SEC, which is very physical, but nothing compares to actually playing in the NFL. So I thought I'd be on the field by now. That's what I would thought.
What are your representation, family, friends? Obviously, you've got to lean on a lot of people to kind of get through a difficult time like this. What have they been telling you to help you?
Just take it day by day, pray to God. He's always going to stand with me, no matter what. And just know you're doing the right thing. Like some people say, we all agree Trey will be right? But technically he's still 1% wrong for being on the contract. So in my case, I'm 100% right, so it should be a no-brainer. And in Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17.5 sacks for 2 years back-to-back. If I was the GM or I was the owner, take all my money. But I guess they don't operate like that. But
that's the first-round draft pick of the Bengals. saying, I guess they don't operate like that.
And they've never operated like that. So I did a little digging. And they have not only done this to first-round picks, they've done this to franchise quarterbacks. Do you remember Carson Palmer?
Oh, yeah.
After the 2010 season, the Bengals go 4-12. He requests a trade. Mike Brown says, no way, Jose, we're not doing that. So then Carson Palmer says, or it is reported by a TV station that a friend of Carson Palmer gave this quote, I will never set foot in Paul Brown Stadium again. I have $80 million in the bank. I don't have to play football for money. I play it for the love of the game, but that would have to be somewhere else. So he threatened to retire, and they drafted Andy Dalton in the second round. They called his bluff. So the Raiders called. They ended up getting traded. So they moved Carson Palmer off, who as a 35-year-old passed for over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. As a 35-year-old, they chased this guy off for Andy Dalton, who became a decent quarterback for them, led them to the playoffs a couple times. Not a whole lot of wins. That was the whole knock on them, is their Marvin Lewis never had a playoff win despite all of those playoff appearances. So this is not the first time they've done this to a player of their stature. Also doing this to Andre Smith, their first-round pick in the 2000s, where Darius Hayward-Bay, who was selected at number 7 overall, got a substantial offer from the Raiders before CBA had slotted allotments for how much each draft pick could make. It was more of like guidelines than rules. Well, then they went to the Bengals and were like, okay, number 7 got this. I was number 6. Just give me a little bit more than him, and I'll report to camp. To which they said, no, we're not going to do that. They eventually came to a contract, and he came to play. But this is nothing new for the Bengals. They have done this ever since I have watched football, since the early 2000s. They have never been someone who is siding with their players, who wants to do right by their players. Andre Smith, Carson Palmer, Jesse Bates. The names are endless. The Bengals are not going to do right by you. And oddly enough, Shamar Stewart does have leverage in this situation. Were you aware that if he does not play by week 10 this year, he cannot play for the Cincinnati Bengals?
In terms of a holdout.
In terms of a holdout.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come to practice, isn't on the technically on the roster, they can't cut him. You're not going to cut him. You would, I guess since he didn't sign his contract, you wouldn't owe him any money. But if he doesn't play by week 10, he can't come and play after that. If he chooses to sit out this year, now let me pull up the actual tweet by a friend of the show, Jordan Reed. For those wondering, and if it even gets to this extreme, Shamar Stewart can re-enter the 2026 draft, but he would have to sit out this year. That would make him eligible to be selected by any other team than Cincinnati. So 21 years old, not a super old rookie. Like, hypothetically, he could sit out a year, but that's not something I would suggest for someone whose biggest issue, the whole reason he wasn't selected higher in the draft, was because he had developmental issues. So he does have leverage. He does have a way out if he doesn't want to if this situation is untenable in Cincinnati, he has a chance to go elsewhere, do something else.
Has this ever happened before?
I mean, you've got the Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning situation.
But a guy coming back around to re-enter the draft.
I don't know about that.
The extreme scenario that Jordan Reed has laid out.
Kind of this morning, Rhett was talking to me about it. He thought that John Elway did a similar thing, but John Elway was traded after the draft to the Broncos. So I would have to do some digging, but I don't think there is an example of someone being drafted, holding out, and resubmitting their name to the draft.
I just pulled up Shamar Stewart's draft profile, NFL.com. Some of his weaknesses. Allows blockers into his frame, diminishing his length. Gets pushed off his base and widened at the edge. Leans into blocks instead of commanding the point of attack through force. His hand usage in both phases is well behind schedule. He is in desperate need of some go-to moves to kickstart his rush. He's a good prospect. It goes on to say, in terms of strength, exceptional chase speed to close hard off the backside. Speed to power rush. Knocks pass-setting tackles off their mark. He will threaten guards with his length, his quickness as a sub-rusher inside. Traits, versatility, and upside make his development a matter of when and not if. But the development is the key part there for Shamar Stewart. He is not a ready-made pass rusher drafted as a first-round pick in the NFL draft to replace one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League, in Trey Hendrickson.
Okay, we do have one example, but this is Google AI, so I would
let's hear it.
I would have to do substantial research to prove that they are not just reading someone else's incorrect work. Bo Jackson is a notable example. He was drafted first overall by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1986, but refused to sign with them. He played professional baseball instead, and then re-entered the NFL draft in 1987, where he was selected by the Los Angeles Raiders. He went on to play for the Raiders while continuing his baseball career. So that would be, if that is true, which I wasn't alive back then, I need to do a little digging, that would be probably the best example you could think. Because Bo Jackson, despite retiring early, had a decent career. I mean, he's thought of as like Tecmo Bowl Bo, you know?
No, that is true. He vowed not to sign with Tampa should they draft him. And they drafted him anyway. And he said, okay, I'm going to go play in the MLB. And he was drafted in the 4th round by the Kansas City Royals. And he went on to play in the MLB and then eventually ended up coming back to the NFL. So that is the only precedent, I guess, which is obviously a very unique situation. Bo Jackson being one of the best multi-sport athletes we have ever seen.
So of those two options, not to cut you off, but this is super interesting for me. Would you, if you're the Bengals, if you're like, okay, signing him is off the table, like just for whatever reason, this is a hypothetical, would you rather him sit out and re-enter the draft and you just have nothing to show for it? Or do you think that the Bengals would try to find a trade partner to be like, hey, what would you give me for this guy? Because, like, the value would obviously be tanked. You're not going to get a first-round pick. You're not going to get the equivalent of the 17th overall pick. But if this guy chooses to do this and you're out a first-round pick, you got to get something back for him. I wonder if or when they would ever hit that threshold of being like, okay, this is untenable. We've done too much damage here. Do we just trade him to the Raiders for a future second?
This is crazy. Who's going to rush the passer for the Bengals?
Joseph Asai.
Right.
And they had a Cam Sample. They had another defensive lineman retire this offseason.
They don't want to pay their star, and they don't want to pay their draft pick. And look, whatever they're trying to protect themselves against with Shamar Stewart, with guarantees, okay, maybe you can find a way to see where they're coming from. But if you're Shamar Stewart and you're looking at their last 2 first-round picks that were drafted later than where he was drafted, at number 17 overall, why would he ever agree to be that precedent that is set when he is drafted higher at what should be a higher value than their previous 2 first-round draft picks?
And I misspoke there. It wasn't Cam Sample. It was Sam Hubbard.
Sam Hubbard retired. That's right. So just absolute insanity here from the Cincinnati Bengals. It is a bizarre situation. And meanwhile, there is another, I love that you brought up that Carson Palmer thing. People forget how good Carson Palmer was with the Arizona Cardinals. But meanwhile, there is another rookie contract that is yet to be finalized, but for very, very different reasons. As Travis Hunter is on the field, and he's doing everything, and he's making plays, and the Jags have posted one just ridiculous interception that Travis Hunter had with blanket coverage and a crazy one-handed diving pick. He's doing Travis Hunter things in the Jaguars offseason program. He has not yet signed his rookie contract, which makes sense because Travis Hunter's rookie contract could be a complicated thing. How do you even go about that if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars for a player that claims he wants to play every single snap of both offense and defense? And is there a more interesting rookie in the NFL, Robert, in 2025 than Travis Hunter? Like Cam Ward here, of course, number 1 overall pick, trying to be this team's franchise quarterback. But if we're to take a step back and zoom out at a macro level, is there a more interesting rookie in the NFL than Travis Hunter?
Not without like squinting really hard and being like Ashton Genty, but no. It's Travis Hunter.
So I can't wait to see what his rookie contract looks like because that is yet to be finalized. There is a little bit of other rookie drama, but before we move to that, the player that we mentioned that the Titans might have had interest in, that we certainly talked about them potentially having interest in, Jermaine Pratt has signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. The former Bengals linebacker who, again, talk about being done dirty by the Cincinnati Bengals, requested a trade back in February, and they waited until this week to release him. And quickly, he scoops up a 1-year deal worth $4.25 million with the Raiders. That makes me think the Titans didn't really kick that around. If he's signing for $4 million, I understand that he might have preferred to go to Vegas. But we talked about his market value, Spot Track, which, again, it's a projection. We understand what that is. Spot Track had his market value as $9 million for 1 year. The Titans could have been a team to outbid $4.25 million from the Las Vegas Raiders. That's, I'm not going to say chump change, but I'm surprised how low that mark is for a guy that led his team in tackles and has been a good player in the middle of the Bengals defense for the last few years and is still below 30.
I don't disagree with you that he probably could have gotten more money elsewhere, but what do you know about the Raiders linebacker room and why it resembles an old folks' home?
Tell me.
Here are the other linebackers that are expected to contribute for the Raiders at some point this season. Landon Roberts, who came from Pittsburgh, an elder statesman, but not super old. Devin White, who longtime Tampa Bay linebacker, getting longer in the tooth. Jalen Smith, former Notre Dame and Dallas Cowboys linebacker. So if I'm reading between the lines, I think that he may have taken a slight pay cut to go there this year, but next year he would be in the running to be their linebacker one and to be able to be paid as such. In Tennessee, you've got Cody Barton, who's under a 3-year deal. So if you were to re-sign with Tennessee, they already have an inside linebacker who is thought of as their guy. So there's a potential roadblock in you getting paid there. The Raiders don't have anything like that. The Raiders, the closest thing you could say is they have Tommy Eichenberg, who was a 5th-round pick at linebacker. So looking between the contracts, it seems like he took a lesser payday in the hopes that his play would get him another payday next year. Is just my guess.
Sure. Either way, the Titans starting spot next to Cody Barton seems like it will come from one of those guys currently competing for it in the building, as they are in the final day of mandatory minicamp on the practice field as we speak. I believe players will be made available to media after practice. Buck will join us at noon for some observations before he gets back in studio tomorrow. And stick around in the noon hour. Arden Key, his conversation with Buck, will play that, talk a little bit about the Titans pass rusher situation, where we have a poll out at Lucas Panzikis where you can go vote who will lead the Titans in sacks in 2025, as their sack leader, Harold Landry, is now a New England Patriot. Little more drama across the NFL when it comes to rookies currently in the offseason program. So obviously the rookie that people are paying most attention to, I would say, maybe outside of Travis Hunter and maybe Cam Ward, would be Shedeur Sanders. He seems like he's at the bottom of that depth chart right now in Cleveland, perhaps unsurprisingly. And now Luther Burden, who was a name that was tossed around a lot here as a potential selection for the Titans in the second round, ended up falling, and he is picked by the Bears. And he picked up a soft tissue injury early in the offseason program that has had him out during rookie minicamp.
If I remember correctly, both of their top rookies are out. Both he and Colston Loveland.
That's right, yes, the tight end out of Michigan. This was Bears head coach Ben Johnson talking about Luther Burden missing what he is missing right now as a rookie.
Yeah, no, he misses a lot. I mean, anytime you're not out there, if you're in the training room when the rest of the guys are practicing, you're losing valuable time with your coaches, valuable reps with your teammates, the ability to build the trust that we're talking about. It's not just the coaching staff having trust in you doing the right thing over and over, but it's also your teammates. They got to be out there. They got to see you do it. They got to know that the guy right, left of them, that they're going to do the right things and they're going to make the plays when called upon. So, I think it's for everybody, and it's a shame that he got dinged up and missed all that time, because for a young player, it's really where you get the most reps and you can get better in a hurry that way. So that's really for every player on this team.
That's Bears head coach Ben Johnson. Sounds a little frustrated that he doesn't have his rookie wide receiver out there with him getting looked at with a soft tissue injury.
He'll be okay. They have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. Rome Odunze can fill that hole just in the meantime. I know they're not the same player, but it does seem like at the beginning of that, he was more frustrated about the player, and then at the end of it, he kind of flattens out, and it's more about the situation. But I wonder if that's not something going on in Chicago that's like, yeah, he's got a soft tissue injury. Like, that was something that Mike Vrabel would talk about with Titans and bringing down David Long.
Repeat offenders.
Right. So if there's going to be an issue with him in Chicago, I think he needs to figure out this soft tissue injury stuff before Ben Johnson finds a new pet project.
Yeah, not a great start for Luther Burden. I play that to kind of come back around to the Titans, to take a step back and realize The Titans are fortunate right now, in a good place health-wise. As Lloyd Cushenberry kind of works his way back, understand that L'Jarius Sneed is not out there, and that is giving more reps to rookie draft pick Marcus Harris out of Cal. But in terms of the majority of the rookies that are trying to get established here, they're getting that opportunity that Luther Burden is not in Chicago. Speaking of that wide receiver room in Chicago, Keenan Allen's still out there. Are we just anticipating a retirement for the 33-year-old?
Either a retirement, a midseason addition like DJ Moore, Rome goes down, and they need to add somebody. They call Keenan up. I also wonder if what's it like with the Chargers? Like, would Keenan be willing to go back? I know they had an initial investment in the second round in a wide receiver, but like, you can never have too many guys. I know it's a Greg Roman offense; it's run first, but if he was going to go somewhere, I think he would go back to Chicago or go back to the Chargers.
Coming up next, Kyle Brandt of NFL Network. Known Titans lover Kyle Brandt went on a rant when posed a question that involved Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward. We'll play that for you and react to it coming up next, plus your chance to win Dad some tickets for Father's Day. Stay tuned, 615-737-1045. Not yet, but that's the number for you to jump in. We'll do that next on 1045 The Zone. Guys, it's Lucas. If you're looking for the best place in Nashville this summer to catch the U.S. men's national team action, look no further than Fog Street Lawn Club with British-style lawn bowling upstairs in front of the best rooftop view of downtown Nashville, authentic British pub fare, and a match day atmosphere that is second to none. It's the perfect spot for soccer fans to come together. Nashville SC matches home or away. Also a great spot to go watch the Stanley Cup final, the NBA final, spacious bar downstairs, TV everywhere, and like I said, that picturesque rooftop with TVs, tables, and fantastic food and a large drink selection. And also, I'll be there to kick things off on Sunday. The U.S. men's national team in a bad spot a year out from the World Cup. They're trying to turn the tide with the Gold Cup starting on Sunday, trying to win this North and Central American competition. I will be there at Fog Street Lawn Club Sunday, June 15th from 3 to 5 p.m., hanging out, leading us up to kickoff of the game as the U.S. men's national team gets ready to take the field. We're going to have giveaways, exclusive merch, and your chance to win match tickets. If you can't make it Sunday, no worries. I'll be back at it on Wednesday, June 19th, and Saturday, June 22nd for more match day fun as the U.S. plays these group stage games. So grab your friends, wear your red, white, and blue, make Fog Street Lawn Club your home base for every big moment in anticipation of the World Cup next summer. See you guys at Fog Street Lawn Club Sunday afternoon. It is Dad's Week on 104.5 The Zone, so we've got chances for you to win tickets for Dad. Father's Day coming up Sunday. 104.5 The Zone for more information. But at the end of this segment, we'll have the opportunity for you to win what, Robert Walsh?
Tickets to go to Geodis Park with your daddy July 5th to see him take on Philadelphia.
All right. July 5th, the next home game for Nashville SC against Philadelphia Union. Top 4 matchup in the Eastern Conference. Nashville playing really well as the first half of the MLS season is in the books. We'll be back at it Saturday night on the call for their game at Chicago. But Saturday, July 5th against Philadelphia. At the end of the segment, we'll give you a chance to win.
It must be nice being able to get, like, if your dad likes sports, like, that must be nice. My dad don't want nothing to do with any kind of ball, bat, frisbee. No,
he never raised you going to any ball game.
No, dude. I didn't even start watching football until my junior year of high school.
Wow.
Only thing I did was wrestle. I wrestled from like 6th grade until my 11th year. So my dad, every year texted, "What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas?" "I want a box of shotgun shells. And I'd like one year I got him a layout goose blind, which is kind of like you're laying on the ground, you pop up for anybody who's not a hunter. And you would have thought I got this dude a Corvette. He's like, "Whoa, we got to put this thing together." Right? So if you like going to Gander Mountain and spending $300, that's great. But I would have loved to win my dad some Nashville SC tickets and him be happy about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. By the way, while we're on that subject, I'm going to be out at Fog Street Lawn Club Sunday afternoon for the U.S. men's national team game against Trinidad to open up the Gold Cup. Critical moment for them. World Cup is in a year. I'll be out there at 3 o'clock hanging out on that gorgeous rooftop playing some lawn bowling, some great food and drinks. Hope you guys come out, and we'll stay for the game, too, that starts at 5 on Sunday afternoon. So I'll see you guys at Fog Street Lawn Club. If you haven't checked it out yet, I was hanging out there with Buck a couple of weeks ago. That rooftop is picturesque. You going to be there? I'll see you there.
I'll be there for you. Taylor H. in the chat saying, shout out to Nashville SC for letting first-timers come to a game for free.
Yeah, that is something that Nashville SC is doing. I will say they just put out a press release. They're celebrating 615 Day this year. This is a fan engagement initiative inviting Nashvillians to experience their first match at Geodis Park totally free of charge. If you've never been,
how do they keep up with that?
To Geodis Park. So head to NashvilleSC.com for more info. More specifically, NashvilleSC.com/locals only. If you're a local and you've never been to a Nashville SC game, they're giving you a chance to come out and check it out for free.
Yeah, but are they going to like pull my card and be like, "No, our facial scan recognition system noticed that you've been in the supporter section"?
No, yeah, you're not
4
allowed
times.
to. You're not allowed to do this.
But see,
you've been to multiple Nashville
yeah, but
SC games.
it's not for free. I haven't been as a local. I've been like as a fan. Do you think they would still let me in?
No. I don't know if they would let you in just generally. I'm just kidding. They're very open to anybody who wants to go to a soccer game. And go check it out. It's a great vibe at Geodis Park, and the team is fun and good. Okay, all of that aside, your chance to win Nashville SC tickets at the end of this segment. Kyle Brandt of NFL Network was posed the question, who will have a bigger impact as a rookie, Cam Ward or Travis Hunter? And this was his reaction.
All right. I'm going to take a deep breath here, and I'm going to start on behalf of this program with an apology. An apology for this topic, for this question, to not only the entire Tennessee Titans organization, but the entire state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. This is where we have arrived at. We are asking whether the number 1 overall pick in the draft, who's going to start at quarterback, will have a bigger impact than this guy playing corner or wide receiver. I don't care if Travis Hunter also coaches and punts and kicks field goal and mops up the locker room and drives the team bus and flies the team plane. It's Cam Ward. And I have this apologetic tone because we should know better. We're not the other shows. We're supposed to be the people's show of football on the ground floor. We're not afraid to do a segment with those logos here, the Titans logo and the Jags logo. We're not ripped off the air because we're not showing a Cowboys star or Aaron Rodgers' face. This is a real conversation about who's going to be a more impact. Travis Hunter, what are we doing? Travis Hunter, Hunter S. Thompson, Hunter Biden, I don't care. Any Hunter, Snow White and the Huntsman. You can put them out there, and it's always going to be Cam Ward. And let's not also say, well, it's only because he's a quarterback. No, it's because he's an undisputed number 1 overall pick quarterback who looks real nice and is playing well early on. Look at this picture right here and tell me this doesn't have a little bit of sizzle. Don't tell me it's all boring and it's only because he's quarterback. That's pretty icy.
Swag.
That's 1. That's Ridley. That's the rookie. I like that 0. I like that 1. I'm into it, guys. I like how this looks, and it's okay if you like how that looks. I cannot believe we've gotten here as a show. I'm going to apologize to everybody. We're already getting alarms going off because we're talking about Cam Ward. Get him off. Get him off. Talk Rodgers. Talk Rodgers. Talk anything. This is Cam Ward. Talk Shador. Fine. Talk about the 4th string quarterback on the damn Cleveland Browns before the number 1 overall pick. Get him off. I apologize. I'd like to say it won't happen again, but it probably will. You know what I can't wait for? You know what I can't wait for? I can't wait until the Titans come out at, oh my God, they're 3-1. Cam Ward looks great. Cam Ward is doing Jaden type things from last year, and everyone just comes storming to the forefront. Oh, this kid's great. This kid's great. BS. You weren't talking squat about Cam Ward in April, in June. You Johnny and Jill come lately. Get the hell off the train.
He didn't even get his 15 seconds, and then Travis got drafted, and everybody talked about Travis.
Okay. Strong words. Kyle Brandt, famously a Tennessee Titans lover. This is what I'm talking about, folks. Like, Kyle Brandt is spearheading this, and Titans fans will appreciate him for it. But this is going to happen the more highlights come out of Cam Ward, the more positive performances Cam Ward has at training camp with pads actually on, maybe at joint practice against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I don't think, Robert, that this is going to slow down if it's starting to pick up some steam with just, voices like Kyle Brandt, voices like Louis Riddick. Can we hear from Louis Riddick and the latest that he had to say about the Titans quarterback?
That was a quick transition.
Yeah, I'm sorry
you think
about
I
that.
could pull that off? What am I, some kind of stud?
You're a wizard. You're a wizard, Robert. This was Louis Riddick.
Cam Ward is built the way you want him to be built. He just is, man. He's a true alpha. And that's what everyone at Miami and at Washington State will tell you. This is not a surprise. The guy is built to be the face of a franchise. He's got a ton of mental horsepower where the coach is giving him instructions. He's a rookie now. He's a rookie. He's giving him instructions about a whole new offense, everything that he has to do pre-snap, post-snap, all the responsibility that he has, while at the same time, I heard Jeffrey Simmons talking about the fact that the defense is chirping at him. He's chirping back at him while at the same time listening to what Brian Callahan is telling him and then going out there and executing and throwing the football, at the level that he can throw it at, which is commensurate with being the number 1 overall pick in the draft. The guy is built the way you want. I cannot wait to see him actually play real games so people can stop saying, oh, it's just minicamp. Oh, he's just in shorts. Oh, it doesn't mean anything. The dude's special. He's probably one of the least hyped number 1 overall picks that we've talked about in a long time. I think that's going to change come September, though, Dan.
One of the least hyped number 1 picks in a long time.
I don't know. They're doing their job. They're working on doing it the opposite way. If Kyle Brandt has to say one more time and disparage other shows while propping himself up, dude's a pro wrestling fan.
Yeah.
You should know that the key of pro wrestling is not to make your opponent look bad. You want to make your opponent look good so that you look good in response. Like, instead he's dragging it. We don't have to talk the Cowboys over here. Okay, we get it. You're buff. You're handsome. You're probably on a golf cart. You love small market teams. Shut up, Kyle.
I love that the measure of just being just this superhuman person is owning a golf cart. That's fantastic.
After Monday, I need one. I'll never get the mail the same.
You're not in the 1% until you own a golf cart in Robert's eyes. That's the aspiration. He said when the Titans are 3-1, Kyle Brandt. At Denver, LA Rams, Colts at home. 3-1's a tall task. 3-1's a tall task, but I get what he's saying in principle.
Titans also put it up on a tee for the Broncos Twitter admins, having that 0-1
I know.
picture.
Yeah, the picture of him and Calvin Ridley. I do wish they would have. They were trying to do 0+1, so they put on the left Ridley's in the picture.
Who has ever said 0+1?
Yeah,
it's a nothing number. What do you mean?
Yeah, maybe should have.
You're trying to big brain too hard.
Yeah, it was a layup for the Broncos. It was that. Titans lose up there in Denver week 1, that picture's going to come back around.
Or maybe it was big brain on the Titans where they think they're gonna win week 1 and they'll say the Denver Broncos are 0-1.
Just win, baby. 615-737-1045. That's the number for you to call in for your chance to win tickets to Nashville SC's home game against Philadelphia July 5th at Geodis Park. Take Dad. It's a great Father's Day gift. Caller 5 will get the tickets to the soccer game. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Call now. Buck Rising checks in for mandatory minicamp next.
Introducing our new partner, Premier Generators, now in Nashville, the largest certified Generac dealer in Tennessee. When power outages strike, protect your family with a top-tier generator, expertly installed by local specialists. Premier Generators dedicates itself solely to generators, offering unmatched expertise. Plus, you can enjoy the peace of mind with an extended 10-year warranty. Don't wait for the next storm. Schedule your consultation today, because that's something that they run into quite often. Talking to the fine folks at Premier Generators yesterday, people think that they can just call the day before a storm or things like that and say, can you install a generator at my home? There's so many different things that you have to make sure that you have in line before you can actually get this process underway. So it's important for you to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to making sure that you don't lose power at the most critical moments. I myself can speak to this on personal experience when that tornado hit us in 2020 over in the Germantown, North Nashville area where I'm at. We were without power for 6 days. And what I wish I would have been smart enough to, or what I wish I would have been smart enough at the time to realize that it was so important to have a generator at my home. And since then, we've been able to get that done ahead of schedule. PremierGenerators.com is where you go, or you can call them at 615-439-2992. Be prepared and choose Premier Generators for reliable power solutions.
It is about noon. That means it's lunchtime. Hey, it's Lucas Panzica, which means Hattie B's Hot Chicken should be in your future. Visit any one of their 7 locations, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport, and now at Nissan Stadium when Titans games get back up and running. Hattie B's is a family-run restaurant. It serves up your favorite Southern food, an authentic Nashville hot chicken, hand-breaded, cooked to order, add your spice level, hot or not. And don't sleep on the grilled chicken. From Hattie B's, you can still add that famous Hattie B's kick all the way up to shut the cluck up or keep it chill with the mild. You don't even have to keep it spicy if you want. It's just good food. Pick your favorite side. Southern greens, the pimento mac and cheese, bacon, cheese grits. It's all good. It's the best in town. And if you want to skip the line, download the Hattie B's app today. You get a free dessert just by doing so. Can start to build up those rewards. Order for delivery or pick up. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Visit HattieB.com and head to Hattie B's today.
What's going on? Good afternoon. 12:02 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans back on the field for mandatory minicamp today, the final day of mandatory minicamp. Brian Callahan spoke to the media again today, but what I want to play for you is offensive coordinator Nick Holtz giving an update on rookie tight end Gunnar Helm.
I was happy for him yesterday. Playing tight end is really hard. You've got to master the run game. You got to be involved in all the pass game. They're kind of outside of the quarterback and maybe center. It's probably the most mentally taxing position. And so for him to kind of go out there yesterday and just play really fast and make a couple explosive plays down the field, and then he had a couple really good blocks and some gap schemes, things like that. So for him to kind of have that day where it felt like a lot of it clicked was really awesome, where he didn't kind of have that up and down, kind of had just kind of one of those days, which is good.
Disappointing news for Titans who would like an addition on the defensive side of the ball. Jermaine Pratt finalizing a one-year deal with the Raiders worth $4.25 million. The team's overall depth at inside linebacker is questionable, opening up the door for Pratt to solidify a starting role in Las Vegas. To the NBA, where the Pacers take a 2-1 lead over the Thunder after their 116-107 win. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam combining for 43 points. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back. Wrapping up the final hour of today's show and of Titans mandatory minicamp. They'll be walking off the practice field here within the hour, and that'll be it in terms of what they'll be doing on the field all the way up until training camp. Now, rookies will stick around next week. They'll be in and out of the facility. They'll be weightlifting with Titan strength and conditioning coaches. But as far as what's happening on the field, rookies and vets, team drills, reps for the rookie quarterback, the number 1 overall pick, it is today. So we'll see. Cam Ward flashed, turned a lot of heads 2 days ago. Defense threw some stuff at him yesterday, and I'm looking forward to hearing how today turned out. We won't exactly be able to get practice updates, as is the custom during mandatory minicamp, but we'll at least get reaction from what Brian Callahan had to say earlier, and also Titans media got the chance to catch up with assistant coaches, including wide receivers coach Tyke Tolbert, offensive line coach Bill Callahan, and some others as Buck Rising checks in from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Say things about the quarterback, please.
Say things about the quarterback. They don't hate him like they hate the last one.
Okay. Continue.
Well, I can't tell you what we're specifically doing right now, but what I can tell you, this will be the closest thing to a cheat you get from me today, is that the defense is not treating this like the last day of school. That is definitively the case.
How do you mean?
Well, that's about as much as I can give you.
Has anyone made a play today that you could be ambiguous about?
I just feel like there's a little more meat on that bone.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. But as much as I'm enjoying you guys giving me the week off so I can come out here and not tell you what I'm seeing, I'm probably going to keep that status quo.
Got to have those ladder drill videos. Everybody's pining for them.
I do want to know.
Have you seen the internet? Yes, they actually are.
Unfortunately, it is true.
Have you had the opportunity to talk to Greg today?
Greg flew home this morning, so no, I did not talk to him.
Oh, no. So I don't get the answer to how nice Brian Callahan's private bathroom and if Amy's ever pooped there yet.
Oh, that's right. You were that was your investigative journalism work yesterday to find out if the owner had used the facilities at the facility that I assume she has a facility of her own.
Well, see, she's always on that. Who was the woman who let her hair down? Rapunzel. She's always on that Rapunzel balcony overlooking practice. I assume inside of that room would be like a diamond porcelain toilet.
I feel like there are restraining orders against people like you who are more interested in what these women are doing in the bathroom situation.
I just need to know where they go. I want to know what it's like.
I'm getting looks, by the way, as I stand out here at practice on Family Day, as I talk about the facilities that are currently ongoing.
Ooh, okay. Hottest wife, go.
No.
God, you can't tell us that. You can't tell us. I'm done. You can't give us any kind of info.
You know what is hot?
What's that?
Patty B's hot chicken. So you can talk to us about practice yesterday.
That's all you had? That's the best thing that you had to give me? Is that, you know what's hot?
It's been 4 days, Buck. The well is running dry.
I cannot believe I'm just super proud of the two of you that you've lasted this long, frankly, before devolving. But based on how this interview is going, I can clearly tell how the rest of the show is going.
Yet numbers are through the roof. So, who's to say? They have dropped off dramatically in the last 5 minutes for some reason. But you can talk to us about practice yesterday. So, sounds like the defense threw some things at Cam Ward that wasn't necessarily the case 2 practices ago. What was the general tenor coming off the practice field yesterday?
Well, I think the context specifically that you have to have is that it was a third down specific situation. So, you're going to get heated up. Like, they're throwing all kind of different blitz looks at him, and the defense knows that it's just going to be able to tee off. So the degree of difficulty is heightened that way when you're just repping those. I think Callahan talked about it today, just basically a million red zone or third down drills over and over and over again. Today, the emphasis, what I can tell you, because we talked about this earlier, is that red zone is the emphasis. So you can take extrapolate whatever context from the defense faring better than the offense, at least so far. We've still got about, 45 more minutes to go. But, yeah, I mean, have you guys run the Arden interview yet?
No, we're doing it next.
Okay, well, Arden and I get into it a little bit, but they were heating him up on basically every play, and Jeff was letting him know about it on basically every play. By the way, that banter has continued again today, and I hope that's just a daily thing for us because it's delightful to see the two of them going back and forth. But Jeff was on the winning side of the argument out based on how the defense performed, and I think it's important for him to make these mistakes. It can't just be 20 of 21 every day, and then Titans fans lose their mind and they say, "Oh, we've got a franchise quarterback. No matter what happens, look how good he is with routes on air and stuff." No, this is a good defense for him to be tested by. We have no idea, the veracity of the pass rush when we actually get into pads and things like that. That's very much to be determined because it's fair to expect that they're not going 100 miles an hour out here. But it is interesting to see because they're running depth corners right now for obvious reasons, and you see these skill guys are getting open, but the front has had a much more impressive mini camp, the defensive front, than I was honestly expecting. And Cody Barton continuing into today has just continued to make plays as they rotate his partner alongside him. But for Cam, I think they want him to make those mistakes, and how he makes the corrections coming out of it is as important as anything. And that was something that Bo Hardigree and Callahan emphasized today. Who's number 40? Do you have a roster in front of you?
I can work on that.
Number 40, I'm guessing on defense.
Oh, you know what? It is on defense, but
isn't it a jersey swap day?
It is a jersey swap day, so I have no idea.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so Chig is the interview today, except Chig is wearing Mason Kinsey's jersey. So I'm assuming that Mason Kinsey is going to sit down next to me when I do this interview.
40 is generally Davion Ross, who is an undrafted cornerback.
Out of Memphis.
Nope, you know what? That one holds up. That one's true.
Nobody wanted to wear Ross's jersey.
Poor guy. Poor Ross. So
I think those things have to be earned based on who is actually wearing their actual jersey, which is ironic because Traylon Burks is wearing his actual jersey.
Okay, so I do have a question, though. So Chig was wearing Mason Kinsey's jersey. Is he just wearing the numbers and nameplates, or is he, squeezing into, an extra small jersey?
That would be better.
I know. I think it is the jersey. It looks, Chig is not a small individual to begin with, but I think that is a Kinsey-sized jersey. None of these fit terribly well. Have you ever seen them try to pull them off of one another? It's almost suffocating.
That's fine with me. I need Tavondre Sweat in the Mason Kinsey jersey before the end of the day. Thank you.
Yeah, he is. The big fellas are all wearing their proper numbers for obvious reasons.
Who's Cam Ward? Who has he been? I know you can't talk about today, but the first 2 days of practice. Is there a group of ones out there? Like Brian Callahan was kind of avoiding that discourse at OTAs, and then he was saying, okay, he's getting more reps, but for the developmental stuff. Go ahead.
I would say definitively, yeah. We're at a point where that there is a first team and there is a second team. And I know that they'll still shrug that off and say, oh, well, we're still rotating guys. Because, in fairness, like receivers, they're still figuring out, all right, can you play the X? Can you play the slot? And by the way, it was interesting to talk to Tyke Tolbert today about they are primarily going to play Lockett in the slot if, and assuming maybe it's not a safe assumption that Tyler Lockett's on this team, but I do think that changes a couple of different things about how we view this wide receiver core. But there is definitively a first team and a second team specific to the offensive line and the quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean, what? Does that make it tougher for a guy like Xavier Restrepo? Does that mean Chimere Dike has to find a role on the outside as a deep threat? Like what?
Yeah.
What's the biggest cause-effect of Tyler Lockett primarily playing in the slot?
I would say Restrepo is going to have to, I mean, we knew this already, but he's definitely going to have to cut his teeth on special teams. And I know John Fossil talked about that yesterday. Not specific to Restrepo, but just a lot of different guys that they have running around out here. And for the two rookies, the two drafted rookies, right, in DK and Iamaner, man, I just can't imagine a world where Alec Iamaner isn't a starting wide receiver for this football team. And I know that's way too early. We're 6 weeks before training camp and months from a preseason game and things like that. But he looks the part. He practices hard. The coaches glow about him. The quarterbacks love him. Quarterbacks plural love him. So I would see Iamaner more as an outside. And again, depending on the personnel groupings that they roll out there, they could have 4 wide receiver sets for all we know, and figure out different ways to get these guys on the field. But Iamaner to me feels like the favorite on the outside opposite Calvin Ridley.
Brian Callahan kind of spent, Buck, by the way, joining us from mandatory minicamp, last day of practice. Brian Callahan talked at the back end of his press conference today about offensive line depth, what Dan Moore has been like out there coaching with his dad ahead of Father's Day, but namely to offensive line depth. Is there kind of a group of tackles that's settled in behind who we know to be the starters, Dan Moore and J.C. Latham, as the Titans look for that swing tackle, Buck, that I don't know who we can sit here and say is the favorite. Is it the UDFA out of Florida? Is it Blake Hance? That seems wide open to me right now. Have you noticed anything about that second group of linemen, particularly on the outside?
Well, and this is, we're talking about Callahan today. You know, he maintained more even keel than his son did. Specific to it's basically all we'll see. But I will tell you that, is it Crenshaw Dixon? The UDFA out of Florida, he is somebody who they are putting in additional work with to try and get him up to speed. He looks physically the part. Rupcich has played some tackle, but he's more an interior player at this point in time. And Hance has been the beneficiary of Zeitler missing at least the early goings. Kevin Zeitler's been out here the last 2 days, wasn't out here the first day. But Hance, it seems, they have more as an interior guy who can, if they need to, if they absolutely need to, bump him out. I don't know 66's first name, James, off the top of my head, but I have seen him get a fair amount of reps on at the tackle position as well.
So you're saying that Blake could enhance this offensive line group?
God, is this what you've been doing all week? It is going to be such a rude awakening for you when I come back tomorrow.
You were asking about 60? That's Sam Mustipher.
66.
Oh, don't have that one.
Brendan
No,
James.
I've got Mustipher. Mustipher's backup center. I had a lot of glowing praise for Corey Levin, by the way. Who it's crazy to think about as a 2017 J-Rob draft pick and still on the Titans, even though he's had a couple of different stops in between. But they cannot say enough good things about having Corey Levin in the absence of Lloyd Cushenberry, who I have not seen out here today, but was out here doing limited stuff, obviously, in the first couple of days.
So, I don't know if you're allowed to say that. Corey Levin, are we...
What do you mean I'm not allowed to? Yeah. Okay, whatever.
Great job by you.
You got me.
Is Corey Levin, do we say he's the longest tenured Titan, even though he went back and forth a couple times? Like, does that still count?
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. This is like his third tour of Titans duty, and if you're going to put yourself through 3 tours of duty on this football team, you get to be the longest tenured.
Okay, long overstaying his welcome there. That's Buck. He'll be back in studio tomorrow. And coming up next, we'll talk a little more about that offensive line depth or lack thereof. And we'll hear from one Titans player that's trying to test that depth in practice as Bucks sit down with Arden Key is what we'll play. Coming up next on 104.5 The Zone. All right, Titans wrapping up practice, mandatory minicamp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We're with you until 1 o'clock. Robert Walsh and myself. I'm Lucas Panzica. Buck will be back, unfortunately, for all tomorrow. But hopefully he can make himself useful, other than taking ladder drill videos, and talk to us about what he saw out there today. Little something slip earlier. Hopefully it's enough to get him booted out of the facility. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We're going to hear from Arden Key. Buck, sit down with him. Did they play high key, low key?
Unfortunately for everybody involved, whenever Buck is like, hey, I sent you the installer. Hey, I sent you this interview. I never listen.
Yeah, sure.
I know I'm going to have to listen to it on the show. So, I'm just trusting that he doesn't drop, a insensitive curse word or something.
Right.
So, I assume he played high-key, low-key, mostly because he tried to probe both you and I yesterday for high-key, low-key questions. It's like, no, dude.
Which we did not send.
Yeah, why would we? We're already doing your job here. You want us to do your job there?
Should we post the screenshot of our group chat of Buck asking us what to ask Arden Key and having no replies? No, figure out your own damn questions.
That's what Tajay told him. He's like, man, you're doing an interview. Why don't you figure it out?
Yeah,
Even Tajay is tired of, what should I ask Arden?
Who was the Titans player that he was like, do you want to interview me? What questions do you have for me? Do you remember
Was that Jaquan Jackson?
It might have been. And he was like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. What do you want me to, do you want to interview me? It's like, why do you talk like that?
Did not happen the way he thought it would. Anyway, we'll hear from Arden Key, more importantly, later on, because Arden Key and the rest of this Titans pass rushing group that has a lot to prove is going up against a Titans, we'll say, backup unit. Well, not even backup unit. The Titans offensive line has a lot to prove, understanding that. But in terms of who's going to step in when inevitably there's an injury at some point along the way, somebody has to be spelled on the offensive line, there are a ton of questions there. And Brian Callahan talked earlier today about that offensive line depth and what he's seen from it so far in the offseason.
Inevitably, they all do. Whatever guys you have active, they're probably going to play for you at some point. I think Blake Hance has been a really nice addition for us. The guy's played a lot of football, has got experience as an interior player at guard, and he's also played some tackle. He's started games at both those spots. Having Blake here has been great, and Blake's gotten the bulk share of the work because Zeitler's been out. So it's been good to get him all that work and get him familiar. Obviously, my dad knows him from his time in Cleveland, but he's been a good piece for us. The guy that I think deserves some public praise is Corey Levin. With Lloyd being out, we brought Corey back to be able to run the show, and Corey's a veteran player, and he is a savvy, scrappy, intelligent interior guy that's really helped us run our offense over the course of the offseason without Lloyd. Really, really pleased with what he's done for us. Really happy that we have him because he's very capable, and he started games for us at the end of the year last year, and he started games in his past. Been very pleased with his performance, and again, if that guy is a depth piece, then that's fantastic for us. And then this the swing tackle spots got a lot of competition between JD and Oli and John. Those guys are battling. It's going to be a battle. It's going to go all the way through camp. But I feel much better about our kind of top to bottom, 1 through 9, 10 now than I did last year. And again, long way to go before we determine all that. But the guys that have had to step up and that are going to be potentially depth players for us have been really positive.
All right, that's Brian Callahan talking about some of the developments as the Titans try to manufacture some depth on the offensive line. It's a pretty big concern. If there's an injury to any one of these starters, Lloyd Cushenberry obviously is trying to work his way back, and you heard Callahan praise Corey Levin. That's a guy that you feel okay about coming in and holding it down at center. The ceiling of this offensive line, obviously, is with Lloyd Cushenberry at center, and he wants to be ready for that Week 1 game against his former team in the Denver Broncos, and how important that connection will be between he and Cam Ward. All that is obvious. But if anything, that might be the spot that you feel most okay about in terms of a backup offensive lineman, is the spot where he might have to be called upon in training camp. Unless Lloyd Cushenberry has something to say about that, and by all accounts, the recovery from the Achilles is on schedule, and okay, we'll see. But that tackle depth is a concern here. And like you heard Buck mention, and we've had this conversation this week, Robert, we put it to a poll earlier this week at Lucas Panzica on Twitter. Which UDFA is a better shot to make the roster? Receiver Xavier Restrepo or offensive tackle Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon out of Florida? The large majority of the audience went Restrepo. Crenshaw-Dixon has a much shorter path to make this 53-man roster than Xavier Restrepo. There are fewer obstacles in his path, right? As Restrepo has to make his mark on special teams, would have to maybe steal some snaps in the slot away from Tyler Lockett. Whereas Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon, if he can show something in camp, could very well be their best option as that swing tackle.
Do you know how many offensive linemen the Titans carried on the Week 1 initial roster last year?
Tell me.
9.
Yeah.
So the initial 5 starters, and where does Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon fit in there? You have to have some depth for Lloyd Cushenberry's recovery from injury. Obviously, that's Corey Levin. That's 6. Yeah. Who else would you say would be a slam dunk to make? Blake Hance has already been getting a lot of love.
Yeah, he's getting praise from his coach.
So that's 7. There are 2 spots remaining if that's the case. Do Jalen Duncan, John Ojukwu, or the other tackle that they got off waivers from New Orleans, Udo, do any of them get the nod over Crenshaw-Dixon? There's 2 spots left. So, I mean, I would say that both of them have an uphill battle to make the roster. But Restrepo probably has more talent that's available right now than BCD does. BCD's kind of nice, too, though, because all he needs is a chance. ABCD.
Look at you. It rolls off the tongue a little bit.
BCD, that's what I'm saying, man.
So it's wide open there. He's going to have every opportunity. And then we're going to get into training camp and see him tested against this Titans pass rush group that also has a ton to prove and could be one of the weakest spots on the roster. And I always love this chicken or the egg discussion in training camp, right, that we had a couple of years ago with Andre Dillard. Titans signed this potential reclamation at left tackle, former first-round pick, could never crack the lineup in Philly. And he was getting just smoked by Arden Key in training camp. And the reaction was not, oh, they've got a problem with Andre Dillard. It was more of, hey, this Arden Key could do something with this team, which, to be fair, is also what we thought in week 1 of that season when what do you have, 2.5 sacks against the Saints in that game, in that heartbreaking loss in New Orleans to start, I believe, 2022. But we always have this discussion. Okay, is it more because of the pass rushing group, or is it the weakness of the offensive line if they're getting to the quarterback consistently? But this backup offensive line group will be tested against a Titans pass rushing group that has a ton to prove. One of those guys in Arden Key sat down with Buck yesterday after mandatory minicamp.
We got Arden Key here after day 2 of mandatory minicamp on the show. High key, low key, maybe we'll get to some questions later on, who's to say. But I tell you what was high level today. Y'all were getting after it.
We was. It was a hot one today. Hotter than yesterday.
Yeah. No cool breeze, kind of keeping things calm. But the defense, the heat was turned up considerably. It looked like a much different version of that offense than we saw yesterday. Other than Calvin getting that 50-yarder on y'all, I don't know. It was the pressure was there.
It was. But how was that ball? That ball was nice.
Ball was nice. Yeah, talk to me about Young Gun. You guys gone up against him the last couple of days. Give me the defense's vibe.
I like his style of play. He's hungry. He's ready to win.
Yeah.
You can tell his throws. He's been practicing with somebody. Been doing good practicing. His balls is flawless. I mean, they so pretty when it come out.
When he leading those dudes too.
Man. And then I'm not gonna even lie. Will Levis looking good.
He had a couple of nice ones.
Will Levis is looking good. I think he went to Carson Palmer, some quarterback training this offseason.
Jordan, the brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see the work that's been put in with him.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the work that you put in, because like you're coming off a year, Arden, where you playing some high level ball, but obviously you guys as a team not getting the results that you want. And so I guess kind of take me through where you were last season, understanding that you were, trying to raise your level of expectation, but you guys collectively weren't getting it right.
Yeah, I mean, last year we was losing, and I was in that situation with the Raiders, so I was familiar with that type of situation, that type of ball. Just trying to show the younger guys, and we still got to play. Got to fight every time. The film, like I said last year, that film goes out to 31 other teams, and they see those type things. So you got to put your best foot forward in any situation, whether it's good or bad. But since the situation we was in last year, definitely had to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, for you, I know obviously you're looking to build each and every day. You guys are out here in the meetings or in the weight room and things like that. But what was your emphasis coming into this year?
My emphasis was gaining muscle mass. So this offseason I gained 10 pounds of muscle, lost 5 pounds of fat.
Are you noticing that out there?
Oh, noticing the big difference, especially in my power. A lot of bull rushes, stuff like that. I'm able to get the guy off me now. Had a solid power game, but now I'm able to get guys off me, getting longer, and able to snatch them off and obviously get to the quarterback or make the tackle.
I know you guys are confident every year that you come into a new season about the work that you guys are putting in, but the way that Jeff looks, obviously, physically, is impressive. I got to start doing Pilates.
Yes.
I had no idea. But Sweat, obviously, really impressing as a rookie and looking to continue that forward momentum. You got a lot of new guys in the edge group. I know you were talking about you felt like a coach with us at OTAs. You the old head now, huh?
Oh yeah. I think it's me and Zoe is the oldest in the room.
Yeah.
We all on year 8, then it trickle down. Other than that, but like our young guys in the group, they good. They good. They want to be taught. They want to know the game. Teach them the game. They always asking how my footwork was this on this rep, how my hands was on this particular rep. All the guys hungry for knowledge, and I just giving all the knowledge that was gave to me, and I'm just passing it on.
Is that refreshing for you to be able to be on that end of things? I know obviously you've been in the league for a while.
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it definitely is refreshing, and it's new to me.
Yeah.
In my career right now, because I'm year 8, I'm an old guy, I'm a vet guy. I've been in the game, made plays. Now a lot of the guys asking me, so definitely I got to come in, watch how I come in to work, watch how I'm looking at the film and different things like that. And just if I see something, tell the young guys, or if I see something, sometimes I might just ask a question I already know the answer to.
Yeah.
But a lot of the young guys don't know to ask that question. I know they don't know. I'm gonna ask the question so they can get the knowledge for that.
For you working with now Ben Bloom and Denard in your second year, how much easier or how much more seamless is everything? Just understanding that you can hit the ground running after going through the bumps and bruises last year.
It's easier because we're a year under the playbook.
Yeah.
Our playbook, our defensive playbook is damn near like an offensive playbook. We got checks and things of that sort. Last year it was new to a lot of us guys. We never done some of those things before in our playing career. Now we got 1 year under our belt. Now we can build off those things, add some, take some away.
Yeah, for the audience who may not necessarily understand what it is to have to, obviously you want to know your stuff, but to be able to think about it less so it's not bogging you down. How would you kind of explain that to the average listener who's watching us or listening on radio?
So average defense, our defensive call, we might install 10 plays in 10 days each. 10 plays each day. We'll say three-day period. So it's probably 30 plays we're gonna install. Those 10 plays the first day, we gotta read it off the board, go out there and do it on the field. Then the next day we got another 10 that we have to, another new 10. But then we still have to remember the 10 that we put in the previous day. So some of those 10 plays gonna come the next day, and then you got the new plays and so on and so forth. So if you don't really continue studying, if you don't go home for 30 minutes every day and just review, you can get lost out here because some of the stuff is by formation. Some of the stuff that's just what he's gonna call. It just all depends on what the offense gives us.
And I know they've put a heavy emphasis on the teamwork and leadership exercises that they've put you guys or that they've implemented in this. Whose team are you on?
I am on Kush.
Okay, so he's a cat. Where are y'all like? Do we have standings? Who's keeping score other than when you guys walk in on the board every day?
I believe we're in 3rd place right now.
Okay.
I believe we're in 3rd place. We got a ways to go. We made some points out here today.
Yeah.
Definitely made some points out here today. We got red zone tomorrow, and so we'll see where we end up at tomorrow.
Yeah. For you, where do you think that you've seen the biggest dividends of that program that they've tried to implement?
Getting to know our teammates, because it's not just a program. Well, okay, we go and do bowling and then everybody go out there.
Yeah.
No, we got something called the 4 H's. Where we all come in, our group come in, and we talk about our history, our family, how we came up, how we got to the point that we are at now. What was our trials and tribulation? Just getting to really know our football team, know our teammates. To me, that was great because all the great teams that I've been on, all the playoff teams that I've been on, that was a very focal point in the OTAs, getting to know your teammates.
I only got one high key, low key for you today. All right, CMA Fest, high key, low key. High key.
Yeah.
Did you get your boots and your hat?
I did.
You get it squared away?
I didn't. Not yet.
You've been here too long to not, try to redneck it up a little bit.
Too long. I'm trying to find a songwriter, country songwriter, or maybe a Nashville native to go out there and show me around.
All right. Well, you're talking to a bunch of you. You want to put out the PSA?
The PSA. You're a country songwriter, country song artist, country anything. You're a good country dress guy, and you're a Nashville native, man. Come take me out for shopping. I'll pay for it, but just take me out shopping.
It doesn't get better than that. Good to see you, Arden. Thanks for coming by.
Always.
All right, my dude.
Yes, sir.
Two-Tone Productions on the F&M Bank chat. This is terrible.
Yeah. I love that Buck is like, all right, only one, and it's the same crappy high-key, low-key that he pitched us on the phone. He's like, CMA Fest, no CMA Fest. Like, so when y'all know, whenever we do fun bits now, Buck has nothing to do with it. Buck does not contribute anything to to our benefit. If you ever heard a good high-key, low-key question, it was because of Lucas Panzica.
You, 80% of the time.
Nah.
But shout out to Arden Key for doing that, and good job by Buck failing to turn on his microphone. But Arden Key, very complimentary of the quarterback play, and the physical transformation to me, Robert, was the biggest takeaway there. Is it the offseason of physical transformation with the Titans? Much was made of J.C. Latham in the exit interview he had with the Titans last year and just trimming down from the shape he was in at the end of the season. He's talked about it. The coaching staff has talked about it. Tavondre Sweat has talked about it. He didn't really give numbers the way Latham did. Jeffrey Simmons, that's been a big topic. And now Arden Key saying he lost 5 pounds of fat, gained 10 pounds of muscle. So obviously a big offseason priority. And I'm fascinated by this pass rushing core. We put it to a poll at Lucas Panzica on Twitter. Who leads the Titans in sacks this year? Because I have no idea. The options we put down are Arden Key, Femi Oladejo, Jeffrey Simmons, and Draymond Jones. And Denard Wilson, very complimentary of Draymond Jones and some of the versatility that he gives them, signing a 1-year, $10 million deal, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. But it's so wide open, isn't it? When Harold Landry was that guy the last few years, a lot of cleanup sacks, yes, but Landry led this team in sacks last year. Titans didn't have a double-digit sack getter last year. Can Jeffrey Simmons still be that person? Can Simmons have a double-digit sack season and lead this team in 2025? Will things be better around him? Can they generate enough pressure from the interior for that to be the case? It's so wide open, as are many things on this roster. So I'll be interested to see what the final results are.
Did you know both Arden Key and Draymond Jones have a career high of 6.5 sacks?
And Arden Key was playing some of his best football of his career last season. That is true. Draymond Jones will have more opportunities to affect the quarterback in this defense, I think, than how he was being utilized in Seattle. But then there's Femi Oladejo that is going to have to play. And Lorenzo Carter, it kind of is what it is, right?
Sleeping on my boy Lorenzo now.
What is this with Lorenzo Carter?
Anybody named Lorenzo? Your father, Lorenzo Carter, any other Lorenzo? That's a badass name. That dude was put here to do something. I am a believer in Lorenzo Carter.
He'll be happy to hear you say that. I'll pass that on. My dad, that is. I don't know Lorenzo Carter. 615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls as we will wrap up the show with some polls coming up next.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a great resource. It's been such a great resource for guys over the last decade plus working here in Middle Tennessee. And at some point in your life, as your body starts to change, as you start to age, you may be feeling like you've got a little less energy. You may be feeling like performance issues have started to pop up, and you may have resigned yourself to the fact that those things just happen. It doesn't have to be that way. Whether it's low energy or those performance issues that I mentioned, those aren't inevitable. And in fact, solutions exist. The Tennessee Men's Clinic difference is that there's no guesswork and no gimmicks, just real science and effective treatments. Because you don't want to mess with online fixes that oftentimes give you generic pills that are overpriced and most times ineffective. They will offer you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic personalized treatment plans with multiple urologists and providers on hand to tailor solutions specifically to your body and to your goals. Their men's services are comprehensive, whether it's ED treatments or testosterone and other options that many guys don't even know exist. Call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today.
Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. We are, of course, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, which sounds just incredible right now. The grilled chicken, too. Don't sleep on it. Like, you hear us talking about Hattie B's Hot Chicken. It doesn't mean you have to go get the damn hot, right? Do whatever you want. I mean, if that's your bag, go for it.
Yeah, but you don't have to put yourself in pain on the toilet later if you want to. They have sensational chicken without any heat to it.
Yeah, it's just good food. Great sides, great people, too. The Bishop family have been awesome with us. We've just loved working with them, and always makes our day when we get to head out there. Stanley Cup Final continues on tonight, 7 o'clock. It is Game 4, Florida leading the series 2-1. They took Game 2 in Edmonton with a dramatic double OT win. Crazy, crazy game. 1-up to wild Game 1. And then dominated 6-1 in Game 3 at home. So they're trying to head back to Edmonton up 3-1. And if that happens, we'll see if this series has another dramatic swing to it. Last year, obviously, the Panthers in the final going up 3-0 over the Oilers, and then Edmonton coming all the way back to force a Game 7 just to be heartbroken, and the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. So we'll see how that game goes tonight. Robert Walsh, do you have a prediction? Oilers or Panthers tonight?
Definitely the Oilers.
Oh, you're going with the Oilers on the road?
Who would say that, man? I'm going with the Panthers. Why would you think the Panthers?
So you're going Panthers at home?
Of course.
Okay.
Well, unless they lose. And I'll just take the cut of me saying that the Oilers are going to win.
Okay. Reminder on Sunday, we will be hanging out at Fog Street Lawn Club. Robert, myself, some other friends. Hope you come see us. We'll be there at 3, hanging out for the lead up of the 5 p.m. kickoff Sunday afternoon. U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup against Trinidad. Vibes got to get switched around. They're trying to find some momentum and turn the tide this summer because the World Cup is in exactly a year, and it's a huge moment for them. So we'll be there to take it in. It'll be a beautiful day and the best rooftop view in Nashville. Great food, great drinks. So come hang out. By the way, there is a crazy deal right now. If you go to 1045thezone.com, at the top, there's a sweet deals tab where for $5, you can get $50 to spend at Fog Street Lawn Club. Fish and chips, wings, burgers, drinks. Again, that's $5 that you spend online, 1045thezone.com with the sweet deals tab. You get $50 to spend with us Sunday afternoon at Fog Street Lawn Club on that awesome rooftop. So we'll see you out there. Darrington is up next in Nashville. What's up, Darrington?
My good people. Listen, I know it's a whole bunch of interesting tight news, but during that, I got something that's very interesting. Dan Campbell, he likes to bite people at the kneecaps. He's full of all of the energy. He wants the pizzazz. So what does he do to try to turn it up a notch? He goes to his owner and requests to have a real lion on the sideline. Does the owner say, hey, Dad, no, we can't do nothing like that. That's crazy. What happens if it gets loose? No. Miss Ford says, you know what? That's a good idea. I agree to it. She agreed to let him have a lion on the sideline. But, of course, it has to have approval from the NFL, and they said no. It's going to cost too much money, and what happens if it accidentally gets free? But could you imagine the Detroit Lions actually having a lion on the sideline?
Thanks for the call.
Humanity.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I can in the Dan Campbell era, actually. But the NFL, the No Fun League, strikes again. No Lions on the sideline for the Lions.
All right, if that's the case, then the Seahawks got to get rid of Hawkeye or whatever the hell they call that live Seahawk that flies down. The Broncos should not allow to have a horse on the sideline. This is all stupid. This is all playing favorites. They're like, oh, the Lions, Johnny come lately. Y'all get good now and you want a live lion on the sideline? Yes, and let the Bengals have a tiger too. Maybe it'll eat Paul Brown, whoever the Bengals owner is. Maybe he would get eaten by that tiger.
We've seen tigers on sidelines before in college football. Mike the Tiger, famously. Does that mean the Titans get a raccoon, a live raccoon?
Ooh, that would be. I mean, I don't think there's
just
probably raccoons that live around there. There's probably them without the Titans knowing it.
Oh, for sure. At Nissan Stadium, cats, raccoons just hanging out.
Which is a terrible idea. You were trying to argue with me the other morning that you want a pet raccoon.
I would love a pet raccoon.
No, they are little disease carriers in hiding.
I want it to be, get all its shots like you would anything else.
A cute one. You want a cute one.
Yeah, like a safe one.
You remind me of my dad was dating this wild and crazy girl back in the day before he married my stepmom, and she was all into he lived on a farm. So she was like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to get whatever animal I want. She told him she wanted a teacup pig to live in the house. And I'll never forget this. I was probably 5 or 6. And my dad said, pig bleep smells like pig bleep. It don't matter how big they are. Whether it's a big old potbelly pig or a little teacup pig, when it does its business in that nice little blanket you're holding, it's going to smell bad. It doesn't matter if it's a little one.
Oh, yeah, your dad would know, too. But I also would like a teacup pig. I want a monkey, too. Dan Campbell, the quote was, Sheila, referencing the Lions owner, she had no problem with it. But the league apparently frowns on those type of things, talking about having a lion on the sideline. So, double standard. Who's to say? Let's do some polls.
The polls brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealership in all of the South. Who will lead the Titans in sacks in 2025? 32% of the audience. I'm surprised by this. Femi Oladejo will lead the Titans in sacks. Jeffrey Simmons bringing up the rear with 26. So I guess the second portion of that train. Draymond Jones with 24. Arden Key with the caboose with 16.
I'm gonna go Draymond Jones, but like 8. Right? Like, that feels like the Titans sack number is going to be divvied up with 8 here.
A pass rush committee.
6 there. Yes. It's going to have to be by committee. It's hard to imagine any of these guys just taking the reins with that sort of Pro Bowl caliber season. Jeffrey Simmons is the player with that capability, but we haven't seen it from Jeff in a couple of years. He's had the physical transformation in the offseason. We'll see how refreshed he is and how much better they are around him, to be fair. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see which of these guys is most likely to get a double-digit sack season. It feels unlikely at this point.
Are the Bengals the cheapest organization in sports? 78% say yes, 22% say no. No one of the people that said no one offered a suggestion of who it might be.
Who's the cheapest organization in the NBA by reputation?
Ooh.
I know that the Grizzlies are down there in terms of the least valuable. But I don't think the Grizzlies have that reputation of just refusing to pay players. I don't know. I mean,
is there one in soccer for you?
Well, there will be clubs that get into financial troubles. Barcelona got into a mess very recently, right? And they're forced to sell. I mean, my team, AC Milan in Italy, is acting pretty cheap right now. That's all besides the point.
The Google AI seems to think it is the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Team. Oh, we got to keep going. I forgot about that. Who's your favorite to be the Titans punt returner week 1? DK in the lead with 43%. James Prochet getting a sizable amount of votes, but not enough to get second away from Xavier Restrepo. Jaquan Jackson, only 3.5% believe in him.
Prochet's had the most experience at the pro level. DK getting most of the votes here. Wide open battle.
And what is the better way to spell this name? Joseph, as in Joseph, or the correct way to spell it, Joe S-P-H. A majority of the audience agrees with you, 88%. Great show. Appreciate everybody.
I've never seen anybody.
It should
ever.
be. If your name is Joe,
spell the name
Joe
Joseph.
has to be in it. It's not Jose F.
O-E.
J-O-E. Dumb way to spell it.
S-F-H?
It should be Joe. Joseph.
It's not Joseph.
It's not Joseph.
It's Joseph.
No, that's not. Who said? Oh, hello, Mr. Banana. Joseph. No one says that. It is Joseph.
Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
And that's the show. We will see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us all week long. Buck will be back tomorrow, much to everyone's chagrin, but we'll at least get some mini camp observations out of it. Cover 2 with Blaine and Zach coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.